Chapter 5692. This guy must be out of his mind. A near guard actually dares to challenge Sword Master Dong Yu. Looks like he's tired of living. Sigh, we're about to witness the fall of a genius. Everyone in the hall did not think highly of Gu Fei's clone. Many were mocking and disdainful. After all, Sword Master Dong Yu was the #1 expert of the sword in the East Moon Empire, a true sword god. I'll hold him back. You run! Dong Shuai said and was about to pull Gu Fei's clone behind her. Even though Gu Fei's clone had sent Zhao Jinting, a peak heaven realm expert, flying with a single finger, Dong Shuai still did not think that Gu Fei's clone could challenge Sword Master Dong Yu. That was because the difference between Sword Master Dong Yu and Zhao Jinting was too great. One was like a dragon in the sky, while the other was like an ant on the ground. Gu Fei's clone being able to defeat Zhao Jinting with a single finger was enough to intimidate most of the people present. Even Dong Yuanliang was shocked. However, he was unable to intimidate Sword Master Dong Yu. Do you have so little confidence in me? Gu Fei's clone was truly speechless. Is there any use in me having confidence in you? He's Sword Master Dong Yu, someone who's on equal footing with my father. Dong Shuai was so anxious that she was about to cry. You seem to care a lot about me. Have you fallen for me? Gu Fei's clone teased. You're still talking about this at a time like this? Dong Shuai was so depressed that she almost vomited blood. You're about to die, and you still have time to flirt. You're awesome. Dong Yuanliang gave Gu Fei's clone a thumbs up. Sigh. Gu Fei's clone sighed helplessly. Some people always think they can control the situation, but who would have thought that they're just a clown? Dong Yuanliang was enraged. What did you say? Seeing this, Dong Shuai panicked even more. You're still purposely provoking him at a time like this. Do you really want to die? Dong Shuai really didn't know why Wang Zhan still dared to provoke Dong Yuanliang, and still dared to ignore Sword Master Dong Wei. Could it be that he still had a trump card that could turn the tables? How was this possible? Sword Master Dong Yu was the Sword Master of the Infinite Sword Sect in the East Moon Empire. All the disciples of the Infinite Sword Sect in the East Moon Empire had to obey his orders. In the East Moon Empire, countless people practiced the sword, and the descendants of the nobles in the imperial court took pride in joining the Infinite Sword Sect. The Infinite Sword Sect's influence in the East Moon Empire could not be underestimated. Sometimes, they could even influence the decisions of the East Moon Imperial Lord. However, Sword Master Dong Yu rarely intervened in the Imperial Court's disputes, but this time, he actually stood on Dong Yuanliang's side. This was a huge blow to the Crown Prince's faction. Looks like I'm going to do something against my will today. Killing a genius isn't what I want. Sword Master Dong Yu shook his head and sighed. I say, you two really are birds of a feather. You're both hypocrites and sanctimonious people. Aren't you tired of living? Gu Fei's clone shook his head and sighed as well. You! Sword Master Dong Yu was immediately enraged when he heard that. A powerful ripple of the power of Sword Dao immediately erupted from his body. Dong Yuanliang cried out. He was actually sent flying by the power of Sword Dao that erupted from Sword Master Dong Yu's body. The surrounding people also staggered from the impact of the power of Sword Dao. All the tables in the hall were overturned, and the entire hall was in a mess. Everyone was terrified. Every inch of space in the hall was filled with heart-palpitating sword qi. Everyone felt like they were in a formless forest of swords. It was as if Sword Master Dong Yu could kill anyone in the hall with a single thought. This was power that ruled over everything. What right did that puny guard have to fight Sword Master Dong Yu? The astonishing aura that erupted from Sword Master Dong Yu was simply too powerful. Everyone felt as though their souls were trembling. Ha! The Sword Master is mighty! The second Prince Dong Yuanliang was surprised, overjoyed, and excited. He had found the right person this time. With Sword Master Dong Yu's support, wouldn't the position of Crown Prince be a piece of cake for him? Sword Master Dong Yu was one of the few existences in the East Moon Empire who could influence the East Moon Imperial Lord. In the entire East Moon Empire, no one dared to ignore Sword Master Dongyu. Not even the East Moon Imperial Lord. Why aren't you kneeling? Sword Master Dongyu stared at Gu Fei's clone. He wanted to completely crush the little guy's confidence, and crush him. TSK, there's no one in this world who can make me kneel, Gu Fei's clone said in disdain. At this moment, Dongyu and Shuer had already knelt behind him. It could not be helped. Out of everyone present, only Gu Fei's clone did not fear Sword Master Dongyu's surging aura. Before such a terrifying aura, he remained as calm as usual, without the slightest hint of panic. Very well! Even Sword Master Dongyu could not help but view Gu Fei's clone in a different light at this moment. This little guy was truly powerful and nature-defying. But so what? No matter how nature-defying he was, he still had to die. To be able to kill off such a peerless genius, even Sword Master Dongyu felt excited. It had to be said, if such a formidable young cultivator were to grow up, he would surely become a world-shaking existence. You're too long-winded and naggy. You're indifferent to life and death. If you can't accept it, just fight. Understand? Gu Fei's clone said and instantly disappeared on the spot. What? Sword Master Dongyu was shocked. Bam! In the next moment, his nose received a heavy punch. His vision immediately darkened, and blood spurted out from his nose. His tall nose bridge collapsed. The crisp sound of bones breaking was heard by everyone present. Gu Fei's doppelganger disappeared and reappeared in the same spot in an instant, giving the illusion that he hadn't moved at all. His movement technique and actions were simply too fast to be described with words. The entire place was silent. Everyone's eyeballs almost dropped to the ground, and their mouths were so wide open that one could stuff a duck's egg inside. Dongyu and Shuer were dumbfounded as well. Gu Fei's clone actually gave Sword Master Dongyu a punch, causing his face to be covered in blood. Young man, sneak attack! Despicable! Sword Master Dongyu was depressed. He did not expect his opponent to be so fast that he could not even dodge his opponent's punch. Sigh, you're still squeaking when you're inferior. Alright, watch carefully this time, Gu Fei's clone said disapprovingly. Sword Master Dongyu wiped the blood from his nose and harumphed coldly. He glared at Gu Fei's clone and was about to attack. However, the moment he made his move, Gu Fei's clone also made his move. Sword Master Dongyu's right hand was only extended halfway. Before the condensed sword chi could even rush out from his hand, his vision darkened as he was directly punched. F***CK. Sword Master Dongyu was sent flying, slamming into the throne and shattering it into pieces. In the end, he even slammed into the wall behind the throne before coming to a stop. Countless cracks appeared on the wall, and a cloud of dust scattered down from the ceiling. Young man, you have no morals! Chapter 5693. Gu Fei's clone knocked out Sword Master Dongyu with 2 punches. The entire place was silent. How is this possible? The second prince of the East Moon Empire even stuttered and could not speak fluently. That was Sword Master Dongyu, the greatest cultivator of the way of the sword in the East Moon Empire. His cultivation was definitely one of the best in the entire East Moon Empire. How could he be knocked out with 2 punches by a little guard beside Shuer? Everyone was dumbfounded. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Everyone felt like they were in a dream. This scene was too surreal. How could the legendary best swordsman of the East Moon be knocked out by a little guy with just 2 punches? This? Dongyu Shuer pinched herself even harder. Ouch! Shuer was surprised and overjoyed. This was not an illusion, nor was it a dream. Wang Zhan really knocked out Sword Master Dongyu with 2 punches. What Sword Master Dongyu? The best swordsman of the East Moon? It turns out that he doesn't live up to his reputation. Gu Fei's clone was very disdainful. This guy actually dared to call himself Sword Master with such a cultivation. Was this a joke? Gu Fei's doppelganger's 2 punches were actually just a single word, fast. He had displayed the word fast to the extreme. Whether it was his movement technique or the speed of his punches, they were all extremely fast. In the world of martial arts, only speed was unbeatable. This was not an empty saying. With the current martial realm of Gu Fei's clone, he naturally knew the truth of the word fast. Sword Master Dongyu was actually not weak, but in front of Gu Fei's clone, he could not make a move at all. Because he was not fast enough, he was defeated. Although Gu Fei's doppelganger seemed to have won easily, it wasn't easy at all. Because if Sword Master Dongyu had a chance to make a move, he would be dead. But there were not so many ifs in this world. All of you kneel. Gu Fei's clone stood casually in the main hall. His gaze swept around, and everywhere his gaze passed, everyone could not help but lower their heads. However, no one was willing to kneel before Gu Fei's clone. One should know that these people in the main hall were all people of status. How could they kneel so casually? However, they did not dare to attack Gu Fei's doppelganger. Even Sword Master Dongyu was knocked unconscious by this guy called Wang Zhan with 2 punches. How could they dare to make a move? Wasn't attacking this guy the same as courting death? Although there were nearly 100 of Dongwei Yuanliang's subordinates and confidants in the hall, none of them dared to make a move. They were all intimidated by the 2 punches from Gu Fei's clone. Looks like you guys have a lot of backbone. That's right, a man has gold under his knees. I admire your backbone. Gu Fei's avatar sighed helplessly. If they don't kneel, why are you sighing? Dongwei Shuer said in amusement. If they don't kneel and submit, then I'll fulfill their wish and let them be heroes. Gu Fei's clone explained. Everyone in the main hall panicked when they heard this. You're so naughty. If you want to kill these guys, then kill them. Why are you looking for excuses? Anyway, they're not my people. So what if they're killed, haha? Dongwei Shuer laughed out loud. All right then. Gu Fei's clone helplessly clenched his fists and was about to make a move. Bam! The next moment, everyone in the main hall unexpectedly knelt before Gu Fei's clone at the same time. These guys were very shrewd. If they wanted to play the hero at this time, they would have to sacrifice themselves. Dongwei Shuer was speechless. Dongwei Yuanliang was depressed. The people in the main hall were terrified. Gu Fei's clone was proud. Congratulations on subduing so many subordinates. Dongwei Shuer was now filled with envy and hatred. These subordinates of Dongwei Yuanliang were not ordinary people, because ordinary people were not worthy of his attention at all. Among these people, other than a dozen or so nobles of Flying Cloud City, the rest were all guests brought by Dongwei Yuanliang from the East Moon royal capital. Zhao Junting, who was sent flying by a finger from Gu Fei's clone, was one of Dongwei Yuanliang's guests. This guy was also a bona fide peak heaven realm expert. In the main hall, among the guests brought by Dongwei Yuanliang, the lowest cultivation was at the initial heaven realm, while the highest was a half-step divine realm expert. However, so what if he was a half-step divine realm expert? In the eyes of Gu Fei's clone, he was just a slightly stronger ant among a group of ants. A powerful ant, he was also an ant. Second brother, where are you going? At that moment, Dongwei Shuer flew up and landed in front of a sneaky fellow who was trying to slip away, blocking his way. This? Royal sister, this is all a misunderstanding. I really want to hold a banquet for you. You were able to capture the sky hegemonic war god and achieve such a great feat. I'm very happy for you. Although Dongwei Yuanliang was flustered, he still forced himself to remain calm. Haha, is it really just a misunderstanding? You just said that you wanted to steal my credit. I didn't hear you wrong. Dongwei Shuer was happy and excited. She was elated to see her second brother being humiliated. Royal sister, it's really a misunderstanding. How about I set up a new banquet to welcome you? Dongwei Yuanliang said carefully. At this moment, he had already lost the upper hand. His most reliable sword master Dongyu had been defeated by the little guard beside Dongwei Shuer, and the group of guests were terrified. How could he still dare to challenge Dongwei Shuer? Welcome your sister! Dongwei Shuer took a step forward and extended her right hand, directly slapping Dongwei Yuanliang's face. Pa! A resounding slap resounded in the hall, and the people kneeling on the ground lowered their heads even more. Dongwei Yuanliang spun twice on the spot from Shuer's slap. He staggered a few times before regaining his balance. He did not fall. In fact, Dongwei Yuanliang's cultivation was not as high as Shuer's. The reason why he could do as he pleased in the royal capital was because of the countless guests he kept. Among the hanger-ons he kept, there were a few outstanding ones. Perhaps it was because he had Sword Master Dong Yu's protection this time to steal Shuer's credit. Those powerful guests did not follow along. One had to admit that Dongwei Yuanliang's luck was truly terrible. You dare hit me? I'm your second brother. Dongwei Yuanliang was stunned by the slap, and roared at Shuer fiercely. Pa! I'm hitting you. Pa! So what if I hit you? Pa! Shouldn't someone who dares to bully his own sister be hit? Pa! How dare you steal my credit? Pa! I'm teaching you how to be a proper person. Pa! A despicable person like you wants to be the crown prince? Tui! Pa! If I let you sit on the throne, the entire East Moon Empire will be done for. Shuer directly slapped Dongwei Yuanliang over a dozen times, beating the handsome, elegant second prince into a pig's head. Does it feel good? Shuer did not forget to ask after slapping him. Pfft. Chapter 5694. Dongwei Shuer had actually slapped Dongwei Yuanliang over a dozen times, causing his face to swell like a pig's head. Not only was everyone in the hall dumbfounded, but even Gu Fei's clone beside her was also stunned. You're way too fierce! Gu Fei's clone gave Dongwei Shuer a thumbs up. This kind of scumbag who even dares to lay his hands on his sister, do you want me to keep him alive for the new year? Dongwei Shuer said fiercely. That's right, this kind of scumbag really deserves to be beaten. Gu Fei's doppelganger nodded seriously. But he's still your second brother, Gu Fei's clone continued. What second brother? From the moment this guy tried to steal my credit, he was no longer my second brother, Dongwei Shuer said coldly. Since this Dongwei Yuanliang didn't care about their sibling relationship, should she still let him be? Dongwei Shuer, you're finished. I'll definitely go back and report this to father. You've offended your superiors and beat up your brother. You're finished, just wait for your punishment. Dongwei Yuanliang, who was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood, finally managed to catch his breath. He pointed at Dongwei Shuer and said with a trembling voice, his eyes red. When had he ever been beaten like this before? His handsome face was now swollen like a pig's head. He was the most handsome guy in the East Moon royal capital, and he was also a prince. He was high and mighty, and had never suffered before. He had always been the one bullying others, and no one had ever dared to bully him. But now, he was actually beaten up by his own sister. You dare threaten me? Dongwei Shuer was enraged, and directly went forward to beat Dongwei Yuanliang up. Sigh, I still haven't hit enough. Gu Fei's clone sighed. Everyone kneeling on the ground in the hall trembled. Only Dongwei Yuanliang's screams could be heard in the hall, and they were exceptionally loud. At this moment, the square outside the city lord's residence was in a state of mutual hostility. Countless soldiers suddenly surged out and surrounded Dong Yu Shuer's team. There were 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. There were axemen, shield bearers, archers, spear bearers. All of them were well-trained soldiers. These different types of soldiers cooperated with each other tacitly. One look and you could tell that they were seasoned veterans. The entire square was filled with a suffocating killing intent. At this moment, the onlookers outside the square had all run away. He couldn't watch the show anymore. Surrender obediently, or I'll kill you without mercy! The leader of the group, a middle-aged general, pointed his saber at the fatty and said coldly. Beside the fatty, there were more than 10 soldiers lying on the ground. These soldiers were all dead, all of them had their necks broken by the fatty. At this moment, Fatty had become the commander of this team. The thousands of people Dong Yu Shuer brought were not to be trifled with. The thousands of soldiers formed a human wall, protecting the carriage and the prisoner's carriage. They raised their shields, raised their spears, and knocked their arrows, staring at the enemies in front of them. The fatty's prestige in this group wasn't small, because everyone had seen how formidable he was. This fellow had once blocked a group of black iron barbaric bulls by himself. I'm so scared. Lord Fatty is right here. Come, Lord Fatty will let you kill me. Come on, if Lord Fatty even frowns, I'm a grandson. F***ck, what the F***ck are you waiting for? Lord Fatty will stretch out his neck for you to kill me. Fatty really stretched out his neck as he said that. You're courting death. The general on the other side was instantly enraged. He looked around and thought to himself, if I'm intimidated by this fatty, how am I going to lead troops in the future? This guy flew into a rage out of humiliation. He stomped on the ground and leaped, swinging his saber at the fatty's head. The middle-aged general's slash was very powerful, but in the next moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Clang! The middle-aged general's saber actually struck the fatty's head. The fatty really did not dodge, and he did not even frown. However, although the saber struck the fatty, not even a strand of his hair was cut off. Instead, the rebounding force directly caused cracks to appear on the middle-aged general's hands that were holding the saber, and fresh blood flowed out. The middle-aged general was horrified. He felt as if his saber had struck a piece of divine metal. He hurriedly retracted his saber. The middle-aged general lowered his head and saw that there was actually a chip on the blade of his saber. This was a heaven-grade saber, and his Dao physique was actually harder than a heaven-grade saber. Hey, did you not eat? Use more strength. Again, strike here. The fatty slapped his neck. You! How would the middle-aged general still dare to attack? His hand that was holding the saber was trembling. The other party's cultivation was many times higher than his. Even if he wanted to seek death, he should not do so like this. Humph! I'll do it! At this moment, a figure descended from the sky and landed in front of the fatty. Upon seeing the newcomer, the middle-aged general was instantly overjoyed. Mr. Jean, you're here? With you, this fatty is dead for sure. This person was Mr. Jean, who served the second prince. He was a true divine-level expert. Dong Wei Yuanliang made his move in the city lord's residence, and at the same time, arranged for his subordinates to attack the people that Dong Wei Shui had left outside. This Mr. Jean was the divine-level guest that Dong Wei Yuanliang had brought from the imperial capital. You're finally out? There's still one more rat. Hurry up and come out. I've already sensed you, what's the point of hiding? The fatty sneered. Haha. I didn't expect Her Highness to have so many crouching tigers and hidden dragons. A sinister laugh rang out. Then, a ghost-like black shadow suddenly appeared in front of Fatty. Everyone felt a cold and gloomy aura assaulting their bodies. Everyone couldn't help but shiver when they were hit by this cold yin qi. Mr. Ling is here too. Fatty, you're dead for sure. The middle-aged general stared at the fatty and said fiercely. Noisy. The fatty waved his right hand, and in the next moment, a stream of blood spurted out from the middle-aged general's forehead. He was directly pierced by the invisible sword qi, and died instantly. The middle-aged general's eyes were wide open. He never thought that he would be killed in an instant. Bang! The middle-aged general's corpse fell to the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. Seeing this scene, the soldiers of Flying Cloud City were indescribably shocked. Damn it, you dare to commit murder in front of me? Mr. Ling stared at the fatty furiously. Of course. The fatty was extremely arrogant. Haha. Old Jean, since this guy is courting death, let's fulfill his wish. Mr. Feng laughed out of extreme anger. You go first. As Mr. Jean spoke, he actually took a step back and stood with his hands behind his back. Mr. Ling was startled and speechless. It's just a little guy. Do you want me to join forces with you? Do you think I'm shameless? Mr. Jean said proudly. I'm a divine-level expert. Joining forces against a little guy. What a joke. You guys. Chapter 5695. Dongwei Yuanliang was the second in line to the throne of the Dongwei Empire. He had been fighting with the crown prince for many years. With his mother as his backing, he had also built up his own force. In the Dongwei royal capital, the second prince was someone who could contend with the crown prince. Dongwei Yuanliang was willing to pay a price to recruit talents from all over. His 3,000 followers were not just for show. Among them, there were many god-level existences. Mr. Jin and Mr. Leng were the god-level followers that Dongwei Yuanliang recruited. Of course, the most powerful among the followers did not follow Dongwei Yuanliang to Flying Cloud City. Dongwei Yuanliang originally thought that with Sword Master Dongyu around, it would be a piece of cake to take down his royal sister, Dongwei Shuer. However, no one expected that something that was in the bag would change. And this change was the two fellows beside Dongwei Shuer. When Sword Master Dongyu was defeated by Gu Fei's clone with 2 punches, Dongwei Yuanliang's subordinates surrounded Dongwei Shuer's team in the square in front of the city lord's residence. The entire Flying Cloud City was already under the control of Dongwei Yuanliang, the second prince. City Lord Chen Outyan was also taken down by Dongwei Yuanliang and thrown into prison. Otherwise, how could Chen Outyan's younger brother, Chen Fang, listen to him so obediently? "You two fellows better come at me together." Fatty curled his finger at Mr. Jin and Mr. Ling in disdain. "Little fellow, how dare you look down on us?" Mr. Ling was enraged. An even stronger chill spread from his body. A layer of frost immediately appeared on the ground beneath his feet. "Mysterious Yin Chi? What's your relationship with the old ghost of Yin Mountain?" Fatty still had a cocky look on his face. "You! How dare you disrespect the Holy Lord of Yin Mountain?" Mr. Ling was enraged. His face turned ferocious. "What Holy Lord of Yin Mountain? He's just a king hiding in the mountains." Fatty became even more disdainful. At this moment, even Mr. Jin, who was waiting to watch the show, looked at Fatty in shock. This Ling was one of the 3 disciples of the Holy Lord of Yin Mountain. Was this little fellow stupid? He actually dared to look down on the Yin Mountain's sacred lord. "You dare to disrespect Master? You're dead today. Furthermore, I won't let you die so easily. If I want to kill you, it'll be as easy as stepping on an ant." Mr. Leng made his move. However, just as he raised his right hand, "Pa!" Then, everyone was dumbfounded. In a flash, Fatty appeared beside Mr. Ling and gave Mr. Ling a tight slap on his face. Mr. Ling's face changed instantly. A few bloody teeth flew out of his mouth, and he fell to the side. Mr. Ling was stunned by Fatty's slap. His head was spinning and he was seeing stars. Half of his face was swollen. "Pa! Didn't you say that killing me is as easy as stepping on an ant? Come on! Pa! Why did you stop? Pa! Weren't you very awesome just now? Pa! Now show me how awesome you are! Pa!" Fatty didn't stop. He went forward and started beating Mr. Leng until he started doubting his life. Everyone who saw this, including Mr. Jin, was so shocked that their eyeballs almost dropped to the ground. Their mouths were wide open and they forgot to close it. Mr. Leng, who said that he would kill Fatty, fell to the ground. Fatty took a step forward and stepped on Mr. Ling's head. "Now you know who's going to kill who." Fatty looked down at Mr. Ling under his feet with extreme arrogance. You dare to kill me? My master is the Yin Mountain's sacred lord. Do you know the consequences of offending the Yin Mountain's sacred lord? Not only you, but your family and friends will also die. Ha ha, do you dare to kill me? Mr. Lung, who was being stepped on by Fatty, said with a hideous smile. His tone was crazy because he was sure that Fatty wouldn't dare to kill him because he was the third disciple of the Yin Mountain's sacred lord. The Yin Mountain's sacred lord was a saint-level existence. Even the East Moon Imperial Lord had to be obedient in front of the Yin Mountain's sacred lord. The reason why Mr. Ling became Dongwei Yuanliang's follower was because the Yin Mountain's sacred lord wanted to control the East Moon Empire and push Dongwei Yuanliang to the position of Imperial Lord. There were many benefits to controlling a puppet Imperial Lord. At least, he could control the cultivation resources of the entire East Moon Empire. Even in the boundless realm, cultivation resources were limited. Only by controlling the cultivation resources could the sect be passed down. Moreover, not only the Eden Mountain Sacred Lord, but other saint-level old monsters also had their eyes on this fat piece of meat. Little guy, the Eden Mountain Sacred Lord will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Think carefully. Mr. Jean also spoke up. You're from the Golden Sun's sacred ground, right? You're forcing me to kill this guy. Fatty stepped on Mr. Ling's foot tightly, causing half of Mr. Ling's head to sink into the ground. I'm reminding you that if you kill him, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Your family and friends will be in trouble too. Mr. Jean stared at Fatty. Threatening me? Fatty's lips curled up, revealing a cold smile. Humph, if you know what's good for you, let me go. Then break an arm and a leg, and I'll let you go. Mr. Ling, who was under the Fatty's foot, snickered coldly. In the East Moon Empire, no one dared to offend his master, the Sacred Lord of the Shadow Mountain. Even the Sword Master of the East Moon Empire had to address the Sacred Lord of the Shadow Mountain as a senior, and address himself as a junior. I'm so scared. Fatty pretended to be alarmed. Mr. Lung was very proud. In the end, this guy still had to give in. His master's name was really too useful. In the East Moon Empire, as long as he revealed his master's name, everyone would have to avoid him. However, in the next moment, Gotcha! Then, the whole place fell silent. No one dared to talk nonsense anymore. Fatty directly stomped the head of the arrogant Mr. Ling into the ground. Then, the follower of the Eden Mountain's Sacred Lord died. Mr. Ling never thought that this little guy would really dare to kill him. Mr. Jean was also dumbfounded by this scene. Mr. Ling was the disciple of the Eden Mountain Sacred Lord. The Eden Mountain Sacred Lord was an amazing saint-level cultivator. His sphere of influence was not only in the East Moon Empire, but also in other regions. This Fatty had pierced through the sky. All of you scram! Otherwise, bear the consequences. Fatty swept his gaze across the whole place. His gaze was as sharp as a sword. The domineering aura that erupted from him made everyone lower their heads. The surrounding soldiers of the Flying Cloud City even fled in all directions. All right, let's wait and see. Mr. Jean was about to turn around and rush towards the main gate of the city lord's residence. However, just as he took a step, he was stunned. Because he saw a horrifying scene. A young man actually dragged two people out of the city lord's residence, one in each hand. And the people that were dragged out by this young man like dead dogs were his master, Dong Wei Yuan Liang, and the number 1 sword of East Moon, the Sword Master of East Moon. Chapter 5696. Flying Cloud City. At the entrance of the main hall of the city lord's residence, Mr. Jean was stunned by the scene before him. A young man, who should be Dong Wei Shuai's bodyguard, grabbed Dong Wei Yuan Liang and Sword Master Dong Yu by their feet and walked out of the main hall. Then, the young man directly threw Dong Wei Yuan Liang and Sword Master Dong Yu down the stairs like rags. The two rolled down the stairs and were bleeding from the fall. They lay on the ground motionlessly like two salted fish. If it were not for the fact that they could still sense their auras, Mr. Jean and the others would have thought that they were already dead. Mr. Jin's shock couldn't be described with words. This was because this scene was too shocking for him, because the identity of these two people wasn't ordinary. One was the second-in-line successor to the throne of the East Moon Empire. If the Crown Prince of the East Moon Empire died, he would be the next East Moon Imperial family. The other was a divine-level swordsman of the Infinite Sword Sect, the Sword Master of the East Moon Empire. He was the number 1 swordsman in the entire East Moon Empire. The identities of these two people were extremely powerful. Any one of them would have a huge impact, especially Sword Master Dong Yu, who had the Infinite Sword Sect behind him. His swordsman cultivation was extremely powerful, and he was invincible in the East Moon Empire. Mr. Jean could not believe that someone was so crazy as to beat up Dong Wei Yuan Liang and Sword Master Dong Yu. This was completely disregarding the East Moon Empire, and the Infinite Sword sect. Even the Golden Sun Sacred Ground and the Shadow Mountain Holy Lord did not dare to offend the Infinite Sword sect because it was the #1 swordsman's sect in the East Pole. It was one of the super forces in the East Pole. Most importantly, the Infinite Sword sect was backed by the most impressive existence in the East Pole. This was the reason why everyone was afraid. "Who are you?" Mr. Jin's voice was trembling. "Who am I?" Gu Fei's clone laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm just a nobody." "Nobody?" Mr. Jin was depressed. If these were all nobodies, then who was the big shot? At this moment, Mr. Jin had already guessed the outcome. They were completely defeated. "Do you know what you've done?" Mr. Jin gritted his teeth. Gu Fei's doppelganger smiled and said, "What did I do? It's just beating 2 dogs. I know what you're going to say. It's nothing more than looking at the owner's face when beating dogs, right? I'm sorry to tell you that the owners of these 2 dogs have no face here." He didn't care. "You!" When Mr. Jin heard this, he was both shocked and furious. This little guy was only at the divine level, so where did he get his confidence from? He actually dared to look down on the East Moon Empire and the Infinite Sword sect. He wanted to threaten this little guy, but the other party blocked all his threats with a single sentence. He had completely ignored the backing of Dongwei Yuanliang and Sword Master Dongwei. Mr. Jin was speechless. He could only step forward silently, wanting to take Dongwei Yuanliang and Sword Master Dongwei away. "Wait!" Gu Fei's doppelganger looked down at Mr. Kim from the stairs. "What else do you want?" Mr. Jin looked up at Gu Fei's clone at the top of the stairs. "Brother, let him go. He's a disciple of the Golden Sun Holy Land." Fatty walked over. "Golden Sun Sacred Ground? Is he very strong?" Gu Fei's doppelganger said disapprovingly. At this moment, a group of people walked out of the main hall. The one in the lead was Princess Dongwei Shuer. The current Dongwei Shuer was like a moon surrounded by stars. Everyone was respectful and cautious towards her. No one dared to offend her and wanted to suck up to her. It couldn't be helped. No one would have thought that there would be such a ferocious guy beside the princess. This guy defeated Sword Master Dongwei with 2 punches. No one present was a match for Sword Master Dongwei. Therefore, everyone was intimidated by Gu Fei's doppelganger. Dongwei Shuer directly accepted the second prince's followers. To her, this was definitely a good thing. She could also have her own force. Of course, she supported the crown prince. In this way, the second prince's force was weakened, while the crown prince's force became stronger. One had to know that everyone in this group of people more or less had some background, and they all had forces supporting them from behind. Dongwei Shuer was not afraid that these people would betray her because Gu Fei's doppelganger had planted a restrictive technique on them. As long as they didn't want to die, they had to listen to him obediently. As for the consequences of disobedience, there was no need to say more. Although these people submitted to Dongwei Shuer, each of them had a mental breakdown. Submitting to Dongwei Shuer was equivalent to betraying His Royal Highness the Second Prince. If His Royal Highness the Second Prince wanted to settle the score with them, they would all be in trouble. However, His Royal Highness the Second Prince couldn't even protect himself now. "The Golden Sun Holy Land, a top force in the East Pole," Dongwei Shuer said. She was also very wary of the Golden Sun Holy Land. No wonder Dongwei Yuanliang dared to attack her. Not only did he have the support of Sword Master Dongwei, but he also had the support of Yin Mountain Saint and the Golden Sun Holy Land. With the support of so many top forces, it wouldn't be difficult for Dongwei Yuanliang to drag His Royal Highness the Crown Prince down. "So what? If you want to leave, fine. Break one of your arms and get lost," Gu Fei's doppelganger said proudly. "What?" Mr. Jin's expression turned ugly. Everyone was shocked by Gu Fei's doppelganger. He actually wanted Mr. Jin to break one of his arms? Mr. Jin was a divine rank existence. Although he was only at the early stage of the divine rank, a divine rank expert couldn't be humiliated. "If you want to touch us, you'll have to pay the price," Gu Fei's doppelganger said coldly. "Is that so?" Mr. Jean clenched his teeth and stared at Gu Fei's doppelganger at the top of the stairs. Why aren't you doing it yourself? If I were to do it, it wouldn't be as simple as breaking one arm. Gu Fei's doppelganger stood with his head bowed. A disdainful aura erupted from his body. At this moment, his figure became incomparably tall, pressuring everyone to the point that they almost couldn't breathe. The whole place was silent. Everyone looked at Mr. Jean. You're ruthless! Mr. Jean looked at Dong Wei Yuan Liang and Sword Master Dong Yu on the ground. He clenched his teeth and swung his right hand, chopping his left arm. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Mr. Jin's left arm immediately drooped down powerlessly. This? Everyone was dumbfounded. This Mr. Jean actually broke one of his arms. This guy is also a ruthless person. This should be fine, right? Mr. Jean broke out in cold sweat from the pain. At this moment, a terrifying aura covered the sky. A figure instantly appeared above the city lord's mansion, pressuring the whole flying cloud city. The whole city was shocked. Ha! My big brother is here. Little guy, you're dead. At this moment, Sword Master Dong Yu, who was lying on the ground like a dead fish, suddenly laughed. He loosened his right hand, revealing a broken jade talisman. Why didn't you come earlier? Pfft! Mr. Jean spurted out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 5697. The arrival of powerful reinforcements caused Dong Wei Yunliang's subordinates to be shocked and afraid. After all, these people had pledged their allegiance to Dong Wei Shuer. Their bodies were also affected by restrictive spells, and there was no turning back. As long as the restrictive spells remained on them, their lives were in the hands of Dong Wei Shuer. Their lives were in the hands of Dong Wei Shuer. They did not dare to betray Dong Wei Shuer. Therefore, Dong Wei Yunliang's followers were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood. Why didn't this guy come earlier? If he came earlier, he wouldn't have to be controlled by Dong Wei Shuer and become her slave. Especially that Mr. Jean. He had just severed his own arm, and his savior came. Mr. Jean was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Under Dong Wei Yuanliang, they were very comfortable. They did not have to worry about cultivation resources, and they had more freedom. However, under Dong Wei Shuer, it was a different situation. Because Dong Wei Shuer held their lives in her hands, they had no freedom at all. If they disobeyed her orders, they would only have one outcome, death. Now, they had to protect their new master, Dong Wei Shuer. If Dong Wei Shuer died, they would all be buried with her. Little guy, you're dead. You're dead. Ha ha! Sword Master Dong Yu, who was lying at the bottom of the steps in front of the city lord's residence, laughed maniacally. At this moment, a figure appeared in the sky above the city lord's residence. It was an extremely powerful figure, and a terrifying pressure spread in all directions. Everyone felt as if they were being crushed by a huge mountain, almost suffocating. Swoosh! Gu Fei's clone appeared beside Sword Master Dong Yu and stepped on his chest. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. A few of Sword Master Dong Yu's ribs were broken. Pfft! Sword Master Dong Yu vomited a mouthful of blood. Who did you say is dead? Gu Fei's clone looked down at Sword Master Dong Yu, his eyes as sharp as a sword. How dare you! At this moment, an extremely majestic voice descended from the sky. A cold sword she descended from the sky, causing everyone's soul to tremble. The sword cultivators present felt their swords vibrating at this moment, as if they were out of control and about to fly towards the figure in the sky. Why wouldn't I dare? You're the real Sword Master Dong Yu, aren't you? What's the point of creating an impostor to swindle people? Gu Fei's clone stepped on the fake Sword Master Dong Yu on the ground and spoke proudly to the figure in the sky. What? This Sword Master Dong Yu is fake? Everyone was indescribably shocked. No wonder this little guard was able to defeat Sword Lord Dong Yu with just 2 punches. So this Sword Lord Dong Yu is a fake. Someone actually impersonated Sword Lord Dong Yu. Furthermore, this person is the younger brother of the real Sword Master Dong Yu. What are these 2 brothers playing at? Everyone stared at the fake Sword Master Dong Yu that Gu Fei's clone was stepping on. Big brother, kill him, kill him. The fake Sword Master Dong Yu was about to go crazy. This little guy actually dared to humiliate him in public. Was he shameless? Let him go, break one of your arms and legs, kowtow and apologize, and I will spare your life. The figure in the sky said coldly. Haha. Gu Fei's doppelganger could not help but laugh out loud. What are you laughing at? The voice of the figure in the sky was still calm. I'm laughing at you for overestimating yourself. Gu Fei's doppelganger had a look of disdain. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words of Gu Fei's doppelganger. He actually said that Sword Master Dong Yu overestimated himself? The fellow in the sky should be the real Sword Master Dong Yu. The strength of Sword Master Dong Yu was obvious to all. He was much stronger than the impostor that Gu Fei's clone had stepped on. I say, why don't you just admit defeat? Dong Shuer came to the side of Gu Fei's doppelganger and whispered. Even she was not optimistic about Gu Fei's doppelganger. This was because the real Sword Master Dong Yu was really, really strong, so strong that even a princess like her could not muster any thoughts of resisting. F***ck, what are you saying? Do you want me to break one of my arms and legs? And kowtow and apologize? Do you think I will do that? Do I look like a fool to you? Gu Fei's doppelganger said coldly. But, at least I can keep my life. Dong Shuer was very worried. He could still live with a broken arm and leg, but if the real Sword Master Dong Yu were to personally take action, everyone would die. No one in this world can take my life. Gu Fei's doppelganger was extremely confident. If his real body was here, he could squash existences like Sword Master Dong Yu with a single finger. What a big tone. That dignified voice sounded again. Big brother, I want him dead. The fake Sword Master Dong Yu's face was ferocious as he stared at Gu Fei's doppelganger. Is that so? Then you can go die first. Gu Fei's doppelganger stomped hard on the fake Sword Master Dong Yu's chest. Then, the fake Sword Master Dong Yu died. The moment Gu Fei's doppelganger stomped on the fake Sword Master Dong Yu's chest, a chilling sword chi descended from the sky and shot towards Gu Fei's doppelganger. Gu Fei's doppelganger directly pushed Dong Shuer away and took a step to the side, just barely dodging the sword chi. Second brother. The real Sword Master Dong Yu in the sky never expected that this little guy would really dare to stomp his second brother to death. This made him furious and he immediately attacked. However, Gu Fei's doppelganger's movement technique was extremely miraculous, barely dodging the real Sword Master Dong Yu's sword chi. When everyone saw Gu Fei's doppelganger stomp the fake Sword Master Dong Yu to death, they were all in disbelief, thinking that Gu Fei's doppelganger was out of his mind. Stomping the fake Sword Master Dong Yu to death meant offending the real Sword Master Dong Yu. How could the real Sword Master Dong Yu let Gu Fei's doppelganger go? This time, Sword Master Dong Yu would have to fight to the death with Gu Fei's doppelganger. Kill! Without any hesitation, the real Sword Master Dong Yu charged down from the sky, swearing to take the life of Gu Fei's doppelganger and avenge his second brother. Everyone nearby retreated. Once experts of this level fought, the area affected would not be small. Gu Fei's doppelganger used the 8 desolation steps and fought Sword Master Dong Yu. This was because if Gu Fei's doppelganger fought Sword Master Dong Yu head-on, the one who would lose would definitely be Gu Fei's doppelganger. To the real Sword Master Dong Yu's disbelief, this little guy had actually dodged all of his sword chi. You want to kill me? Do you have the ability? Gu Fei's doppelganger sneered as he dodged Sword Master Dong Yu's sword chi. Damn it! Sword Master Dong Yu was furious. The sword chi that surged out of his body was almost omnipresent, enveloping Gu Fei's doppelganger. However, Gu Fei's doppelganger seemed to be taking a stroll amidst the heavy sword chi, dodging all the sword chi that came at him. Chapter 5698. The Sword Lord Dong Yu that Gu Fei had defeated with 2 punches was actually an impostor. Furthermore, this impostor's origins were not simple. No one had expected this impostor to be the real Sword Lord Dong Yu's younger brother. The 2 brothers were twins, so they looked very similar. Apart from themselves, no one else could tell who was the real Sword Master Dong Yu and who was the fake. Furthermore, Sword Master Dong Yu's younger brother's cultivation level was not bad, and he often used his elder brother's identity in the cultivation world. This time, even Dong Wei Yuanliang was fooled. Dong Wei Yuanliang thought he was lucky to have obtained the support of Sword Master Dong Yu. Furthermore, Sword Master Dong Yu even escorted him all the way to Soaring Cloud City. He initially thought that with Sword Master Dong Yu's help, it would be a piece of cake to take down Dong Yu Shuer. However, the truth was that he was overthinking. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the Sword Master Dong Wei was a fake. As a result, Dong Wei Yuanliang suffered a tragedy. Dong Wei Shuer didn't dare to harm Dong Wei Yuanliang's life, but she dared to torture her second brother to the point of no return. At most, she would treat him after tormenting him. However, today, Dong Wei Shuer had stepped on her second brother in front of everyone. Originally, he thought that this was the end of the matter. Who would have thought that Sword Lord Dong Yu's younger brother would crush a jade talisman and summon the real Sword Lord Dong Yu? Everything had changed too quickly. The arrival of the real Sword Master Dong Yu had scared the originally happy Shui heir to the point where her legs turned to jelly. She was not afraid of the fake Sword Master Dong Yu, but the problem was that this time, it was the real Sword Master Dong Yu. This was someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the East Moon Royal Lord. Worst of all, Wang Zhan had actually trampled that fake Sword Master Dong Yu to death. This was really piercing through the heavens. Sword Master Dong Yu was enraged and immediately attacked. The two silhouettes quickly moved through the square, so fast that even heaven-rank powerhouses could only see faint shadows. Everyone stared nervously at the two who were fighting. Because the outcome of this battle would determine the fate of many people. Humph, royal sister, you're finished. Dong Wei Yuanliang stood up shakily from the ground. He was covered in injuries, and his handsome face had been beaten into a pig's head by Dong Wei Shuer. The second prince's teeth had almost all been knocked out by Dong Wei Shuer, so he could barely speak. If I'm finished, I promise you'll be one step ahead of me, Dong Wei Shuer said coldly. Is that so? Dong Wei Yuanliang glared at Dong Wei Shuer. The humiliation he suffered today would be returned 100-fold. With me here, who dares to touch the second prince? After severing his own arm, Mr. Jin, who was so depressed that he vomited blood, came to Dong Wei Yuanliang's side. He took out a healing pill and fed it to Dong Wei Yuanliang. Soon, Dong Wei Yuanliang's aura grew much stronger. Dong Wei Shuer's expression became a little unsightly. Although Mr. Jin had severed one of his arms, he had no other injuries apart from the wound on his arm. He was a true god-rank expert. On the other hand, Dong Wei Shuer was only at the heaven realm. Therefore, even if Mr. Jin cut off one of his arms, Dong Wei Shuer would not be his match. Is that so? Is there really no one who can touch this piece of trash? At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out behind Dong Wei Yuanliang and Mr. Jin. Impudent! You're courting death. Dong Wei Yuanliang and Mr. Jin turned around and realized that the person who spoke was a fatty. When Mr. Jin saw the fatty, he took a deep breath and his expression changed drastically. Meanwhile, Dong Wei Shuer heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the fatty. Everyone had witnessed how powerful this fatty was. He had once stopped a herd of black iron bulls by himself. Damn fatty, do you know who you're facing? One word from this prince is enough to make you die without a burial place. Dong Wei Yuanliang roared at the fatty arrogantly. Mr. Jin was quite shocked by Dong Wei Yuanliang's actions. This fatty had killed Mr. Leng, who was a god-rank expert, with a single stomp. However, when the fatty stomped Mr. Leng to death, Dong Wei Yuanliang was in the main hall of the city lord's residence. He had no idea that the fatty was a ruthless person who could kill a god-rank expert with a single stomp. I'm so scared. What should I do? The fatty pretended to be panicking and said, Kneel down and slap yourself until I'm satisfied. Dong Wei Yuanliang said proudly. You want me to kneel down and slap myself? Are you sure? The fatty's eyes narrowed. Your Highness. Mr. Jean pulled the corner of Dong Wei Yuanliang's clothes. Dong Wei Yuanliang ignored Mr. Jean and said, I only want you to slap yourself. You're already lucky that I didn't take your life. This second prince was really arrogant, cold, and ruthless. Your Highness. Mr. Jean panicked. Why aren't you kneeling down and slapping yourself? Dong Wei Yuanliang still ignored Mr. Jean and maintained his high and mighty appearance. Humph. The fatty laughed. Seeing the fatty laugh, Mr. Jin's face instantly turned pale. Your Highness, this person can't be offended. He killed Mr. Lung with a stomp. Mr. Jean ignored him and shouted at Dong Wei Yuanliang. What do you mean I can't be offended? Dong Wei Yuanliang was instantly enraged. He was the second prince of the Dongwei Empire, the second in line to the throne. However, when he heard the second half of Mr. Jin's sentence, he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He killed Mr. Lung with a stomp? Dong Wei Yuanliang stuttered as a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He didn't expect this harmless fatty to be someone who could kill a god with a stomp, and he even wanted this person to kneel down and slap himself. This was simply courting death. I really can't bring myself to slap myself. Which one of you can help me? My mouth is right here. Which one of you can slap myself? The fatty said to Dong Wei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding, misunderstanding. That's right, this is a misunderstanding. Dong Wei Yuanliang was so terrified that even Mr. Jean had to lower his head. Do you two still have any shame? Seeing this scene, Dong Wei Shuer couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, the fatty's face darkened. Misunderstanding my ass. If I were weaker than you two, I would have already kneeled down and slapped myself. What a pity I'm stronger than you two. So, this is a misunderstanding, right? This? Dong Wei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean didn't know what to say. Actually, Dong Wei Yuanliang was a typical person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Once he saw that something was wrong, he would immediately admit defeat because he knew that if he didn't, he would definitely suffer a lot. I'm very angry, and the consequences will be severe. As the fatty spoke, he closed in on the two. Just don't kill them. Dong Wei Shuer instructed. Got it. I'm experienced, they definitely won't die. Chapter 5699. The real sword master Dong Yu was truly powerful. His cultivation had already reached the half-sage realm. He didn't have a sword, because at his realm, anything could be used as a sword. Even without a sword, it was still better than having one. Gu Fei's clone had to admit that this fellow's sword Dao was the strongest he had encountered after coming to the limitless realm. The infinite sword sex sword Dao inheritance was still very impressive. However, in terms of the realm of sword Dao, Sword Master Dong Yu was still worlds apart from Gu Fei's clone. At this moment, Gu Fei's clone soared into the sky. Sword Master Dong Yu chased after him. This little fellow actually dared to stomp his younger brother to death. How could he vent his anger if he didn't tear this fellow into pieces? Infinite Sword Chi! Sword Master Dong Yu waved his right hand and countless strands of sword chi shot out from his hand, piercing through Gu Fei's clone at an extremely fast speed. However, Gu Fei's clone had grasped the 9 secrets of Immortal Dao. As soon as he used the anti-void secret technique, he seemed to have fused with the surrounding void and his figure instantly turned illusory. Sword Master Dong Yu's sword chi directly pierced through his illusory figure, unable to harm him at all. What? What kind of divine ability is this? Sword Master Dong Yu couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this. His opponent's cultivation was lower than his, but the divine ability he displayed was very frightening. This kind of magical power that could suddenly turn into nothingness was simply unheard of and unseen. Wouldn't he be able to ignore any attacks if he grasped such a divine ability? No wonder this little fellow dared to provoke him despite knowing that his cultivation was lower than his. It seemed like he had grasped such a mystical divine ability. He had to get his hands on such a divine ability. Sword Master Dong Yu changed his mind. Killing this little fellow would be letting him off too easily. If he could obtain such a divine ability from this little fellow, he might be able to successfully advance to become a Sword Emperor. In the Infinite Sword sect, there was a system to test the sect's disciples. Those who passed the test would receive a corresponding title. There was an even higher title above Sword Master, Sword Emperor. However, in the Measureless Sword sect, the Sword Emperors were all saint-rank existences, true sword saints. Moreover, the Measureless Sword sect's Sword Emperor test was extremely strict. Many sword saints in the Measureless Sword sect had failed to pass the trial, and were unable to obtain the title of Sword Emperor. If he could obtain the title of Sword Sovereign, there would naturally be many benefits. Sword Master Dong Yu would also be able to leave this godforsaken place. At the thought of this, Sword Master Dong Yu became excited. The higher the title, the more power, the more cultivation resources, the higher the prestige, and the higher the status. Moreover, if he offered this divine ability to the sect, he might be able to enter the sect to cultivate. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to break through to the saint level? Having changed his mind, Sword Master Dong Yu's sword stance immediately changed. The invisible sword chi that surged out from his body was like a rope, coiling around Gu Fei's clone. His hands danced, weaving an invisible sword net. He wanted to catch this fish that was fleeing in all directions. Gu Fei's clone sharply sensed the change in Sword Master Dong Yu's sword stance. His killing intent had actually dissipated by more than half in an instant. Does this guy not want to kill me anymore? At the thought of this, Gu Fei's clone could not help but shudder. This Sword Master Dong Yu is indeed something. Even after I stomped his younger brother to death, he can still hold himself back from killing me. Little guy, surrender obediently, Sword Master Dong Yu said coldly. Countless invisible sword chi danced with his hands, crisscrossing in the void. Moreover, the sword chi condensed and did not dissipate, quietly forming a huge net. However, what he did not know was that the invisible sword chi that he had shot out was as obvious as a lamp in the dark night in front of Gu Fei's clone. This was because Gu Fei's clone's sword Dao realm was far above Sword Master Dong Yu's. However, he pretended not to know and continued to move rapidly in the void, evading Sword Master Dong Yu's attacks. Moreover, he even deliberately and slowly crashed into his opponent's sword net. Haha, if you want me to surrender, you'll have to have the ability first. Gu Fei's clone finally understood. This guy wants to capture me alive. This guy must be out of his mind. He actually wants to capture me alive? If I let you capture me alive, do I still need to stay in the infinite realm? Gu Fei's clone used the universal desolate steps. All of Sword Master Dong Yu's attacks missed. However, the void around Gu Fei's clone was filled with invisible sword chi. His path of retreat was about to be completely sealed off by Sword Master Dong Yu. At this moment, Sword Master Dong Yu was very confident, thinking that he had already defeated Gu Fei's clone. The corner of his lips unknowingly curled up, revealing a smug smile. Meanwhile, on the ground, Lord Fatty was closing in on Dongwei Yuanliang. What are you trying to do? Don't you dare act recklessly. I'm the second prince of the East Moon Empire, the second in-line successor to the throne. Dongwei Yuanliang panicked. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the other party was someone who could trample Mr. Ling to death with a single stomp. He had actually acted tough in front of this person. This was simply courting death. I'm a disciple of the Golden Sun's sacred ground. Do you think you're a saint by offending both the Golden Sun's sacred ground and the East Moon Empire at the same time? Mr. Jin's expression also changed greatly, but his willpower was clearly stronger than Dongwei Yuanliang's, and he remained unyielding. Oh my, you brought up the East Moon Empire and the Golden Sun's sacred land to scare me? Fatty was overjoyed. Do you think you can represent the East Moon Empire and the Golden Sun's sacred ground? Do you have that much face? The Fatty was amused by the two of them. He had even trampled the disciple of the Shadow Mountain Holy Lord to death, so why would he be afraid of the Gold Sun Holy Ground or the East Moon Empire? Could it be that the Gold Sun's sacred ground and the East Moon Empire were stronger than the Shadow Mountain's sacred ground? Moreover, the East Moon Empire seemed to be the weakest among the three great forces. They did not even have a saint-level cultivator, so why should others be afraid of them? In the limitless realm, what mattered was strength. What mattered was whose fist was harder. Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean wanted to continue. However, Fatty didn't give them a chance. Swoosh! In a flash, Fatty appeared in front of Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean. Pa! Pa! Raising his hand, Fatty directly gave Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean a resounding slap. Dongwei Yuanliang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the side, while Mr. Jean spat out a mouthful of blood along with his teeth. This second prince's teeth had all been pulled out by Dongwei Shuer, so he only spat out blood and not his teeth. However, Mr. Jean spat out a mouthful of blood along with his teeth. A figure flashed. Pa! Who asked you to use the East Moon Empire to suppress me? Pa! Is the Golden Sun's sacred land that amazing? Pa! The East Moon Empire is just a pile of shit in my eyes. Pa! I even trampled the disciple of the Shadow Mountain Holy Lord to death, so why would I be afraid of your Golden Sun's sacred land? Fatty spoke as he made his move, directly slapping these two guys who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Does it feel good? You two pieces of trash. Chapter 5700. Fatty was already in a bad mood after being restrained by Gu Fei's clone. He was filled with anger, but he did not dare to find trouble with Gu Fei's clone. Hence, Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean were out of luck. Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jin's faces were swollen from the slap. However, Dongwei Yuanliang's face was already swollen from the beating. Preposterous! Dongwei Yuanliang had never suffered such humiliation before. He was the high and mighty second prince of the Dongwei Empire. He was incomparably noble since birth, and no one had ever dared to hit him. Not to mention beating him into a pig's head. Even his father, the Dongwei Imperial Lord, would at most reprimand him when he did something wrong. He had never hit him. But today, he was beaten to the point where he doubted his life. Pa! Fatty slapped Dongwei Yuanliang's face hard again, causing him to spin twice on the spot before collapsing to the ground. Bam! Fatty raised his leg and kicked Mr. Jean, sending him flying and crashing into the steps in front of the main hall. The two of them did not even have the strength to fight back in front of Fatty. Fatty could abuse them however he wanted. Two useless pieces of wood, yet you still feel so good about yourselves. Who gave you the confidence? Trying to use the Dongwei Empire and the Golden Sun's sacred ground to suppress me? In my eyes, the Dongwei Empire and the Golden Sun's sacred ground are nothing. Fatty felt much better after venting his anger. However, Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean were shocked, furious, and infuriated. Dongwei Yuanliang was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Don't be unconvinced. My fist is harder than yours, so you're the ones being abused. If you were stronger than me, I would be the one being abused. Fatty said coldly. In the limitless realm, the strong were respected. There was nothing wrong with that. Fatty no longer paid attention to these two fellows. At this moment, an incomparably powerful fluctuation of sword Tao came from the sky. Fatty raised his head and saw countless rays of light appearing in the sky. That's... Fatty's expression immediately turned solemn. Those rays of light were not ordinary rays of light. They were sword rays that were extremely pure. Such sword rays were much more powerful than true divine weapons. I'd like to see how you're going to resolve this limitless sword sex secret technique, Fatty said indifferently. At this time, Gu Fei's clone, Wang Zhan's mother and sister, Wang Lingxue, had already been protected by Dongwei Shuer. Fatty had suffered at the hands of Gu Fei's doppelganger, but he was eager to see Gu Fei's doppelganger suffer as well. Only then would he feel more comfortable. However, the real sword master Dongyu was a true half-step sword saint. In terms of cultivation, he could definitely crush Gu Fei's clone. However, it was not easy for sword master Dongyu to defeat Gu Fei's clone. Gu Fei's clone's 9 secrets of the immortal Tao was truly heaven-defying. Even though his cultivation was only at the early stage of the divine level, he was still able to contend against a half-step sword saint. In Sword Master Dong Yu's eyes, this was simply a miracle. No one had ever been able to challenge a half-step sword saint at the early stage of the divine level, unless that person was courting death. For a half-step sword saint to kill an early-stage sword saint was as easy as blowing off dust. But now, the battle prowess displayed by Gu Fei's clone had overturned Sword Master Dong Yu's understanding. This was because such a thing had never happened in the unbounded realm. This made Sword Master Dong Yu extremely envious of Gu Fei's clone's ability. If he had such an ability, wouldn't he be able to challenge sword saints? "I'll give you one more chance. Surrender immediately, and I'll spare your life." At this moment, Sword Master Dong Yu finally completed his net of swords and revealed his trump card. Sword Master Dong Yu was very confident, because he had set up 3 layers of sword nets around Gu Fei's clone. This was a very strenuous task for Sword Master Dong Yu. Sword Chi condensed into sword light without dispersing. It was already not easy to achieve this. It was even more difficult to interweave the sword light into a 3-layer sword net. Only Sword Master Dong Yu, who was a half-step sword saint, could use such an ability. Divine-level sword Dao cultivators did not have this ability at all. "Why would I need you to spare my life? If I don't want to die, who in this world can kill me?" Gu Fei's clone said coldly. "How arrogant. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." Sword Master Dong Yu gritted his teeth. The next moment, he directly activated the sword net. Countless sword lights interweaved to form a 3-layer sword net, which directly enveloped Gu Fei's clone. The 3-layer sword net sealed off all paths of retreat for Gu Fei's clone. In the eyes of Sword Master Dong Yu and the countless people who witnessed the scene, Gu Fei's clone was doomed. He had nowhere to run and was trapped to death. This, Dong Shuer, who was on the ground, raised her head and saw this scene. She could not help but feel nervous. In her eyes, Wang Zhan was mysterious and unfathomable. He had even defeated the Sky Overlord Battle God and was almost invincible among the divine level. It would be a pity if such a heaven-defying existence were to die under Sword Master Dong Yu's sword. If such an existence did not die prematurely, and could grow up, he would definitely become a world-shaking existence. Moreover, after these days of interaction, Dong Shuer had unknowingly developed an inexplicable feeling toward Gu Fei's clone. Although she was anxious, there was nothing she could do. Sword Master Dong Yu was a half-step sword saint. At this moment, no one dared to soar into the sky and watch the battle from above. The sword chi ripples in the sky were too powerful. If they were careless, they would be swept by the sword chi and die immediately. Dong Shuer flipped her left hand, and the east moon bow immediately appeared in her hand. She then pulled the bowstring with her right hand. If Gu Fei's clone was really in a life-or-death situation, she would not hesitate to help. The fatty glanced at Dong Shuer with a hint of surprise on his face. "This chick is really bold. Die!" At this moment, Sword Master Dong Yu's murderous intent soared high up in the sky. Countless sword lights intertwined into a net suddenly burst out with an unprecedentedly intense light. Every sword light seemed to be able to cut the void apart. "Looks like I can't hide anymore, sigh." Fatty sighed helplessly. He could not just watch as Wang Zhan was killed by Sword Master Dong Yu. That was because Wang Zhan had planted a forbidden technique on him. If Wang Zhan died, he would be buried with him. Originally, he could not care less about the life and death of Gu Fei's clone, but he had no choice but to do so now. However, just as the fatty was about to attack, a pitch-black spatial crack appeared high up in the sky without any warning. The spatial crack directly tore apart the 3 layers of sword net that Sword Master Dong Yu had set up. At the same time, a terrifying aura surged out from the spatial crack. Everyone was extremely frightened. "It's him?" When Gu Fei's clone sensed the aura, his body actually trembled in excitement. The person who had broken the void was Sacred Master Su Tian. At the same time, Gu Fei, who was in seclusion in the void realm, suddenly opened his eyes. That was because a huge spatial crack had appeared in the sky above the mirage middle heaven. No one would have thought that a passage would appear between the unbounded realm and the void realm. Chapter 5701. Sigh. A sigh could be heard from a forbidden area in the limitless realm. It's starting again. In the westernmost area of the limitless realm, a lady in white stood on the peak of a snowy mountain. She looked up into the sky at the ancient city that was bound by chains. Another cycle. In a forbidden area of an ancient sect, an old ancestor who had been in seclusion for countless years walked out. One powerful aura after another suddenly appeared in various parts of the limitless realm. Countless peerless experts who had disappeared for countless years suddenly appeared. In an instant, the entire limitless realm was in an uproar. The sealed ancient city broke out of the seal. Spatial cracks appeared everywhere in the limitless realm. No one knew where these spatial cracks led to. Some of the spatial cracks directly connected to other worlds. In the distant past, these mysterious spatial cracks had appeared before, directly causing a huge storm that swept through the entire limitless realm. Some people were swallowed by these spatial cracks and disappeared without a trace. There were also some earth-shattering figures who entered the spatial cracks. However, none of these figures could walk out of the spatial cracks. As for the ancient cities that were sealed under the 5 polar regions, they seemed to have existed since ancient times. No one knew who built these cities or what exactly was in them. No one knew who sealed these 5 ancient cities under the 5 polar regions either. This was because no one had ever been able to enter the core areas of these cities. Even the Supreme Infinite Primes did not dare to enter the depths of these ancient cities. The last time the ancient cities appeared, there was a powerful Infinite Prime who did not believe it and directly barged into the city. After that, there was no more after that. That Infinite Prime died immediately. This time, the ancient cities and spatial cracks appeared again. All the important figures in the limitless realm could not remain calm. At this moment, in the void realm, a figure that seemed to have existed since ancient times suddenly opened his eyes. Master is out of seclusion. Is he going to return to the void realm? Master. The moment Gu Fei opened his eyes, the most powerful figures in the void realm all looked up at the boundless sky at the same time. In the next moment, the limitless demon lord, the limitless fire spirit, the limitless artifact soul, the holy master of the chaotic heavens, the limitless snow demon, the world-suppressing artifact soul, the ancestor of all demons, and the 2 black hand arch and MOing behind the gathering emperor pavilion also arrived. However, Yen Wu, who had once been the ruler of an entire realm, had arrived late. These powerful infinite primes all appeared outside where Gu Fei cultivated in seclusion. Ever since Gu Fei defeated Limitless Emperor's clone, no one in the Void Realm was his match. He became the Void Realm's Realm Lord. In the Void Extent, he was the strongest. In the Void Realm, he had the final say. In the Void Extent, he was the master. Even his disciples were existences that could do whatever they wanted in the Void Realm. Over the years, both Long Xiao'o and Xiao Ye's cultivation had soared. Xiao Ye's cultivation had already broken through to the Emperor Realm. Long Xiaozhou's cultivation had broken through to the Transcendent Emperor Realm, leaving his grandfather, the West Sea Old Dragon Emperor, in the dust. Yen Wu accepted a little brother. This little brother was Sacred Master Void Sky's clone. At this time, Sacred Master Void Sky's clone had been tortured by Yen Wu into submission. When she told him to bark like a dog, he would obediently squat on the ground and bark. It couldn't be helped. Sacred Master Void Sky's clone didn't want to die. Moreover, even if he died, these people could reconstruct his divine soul and revive him. These people were too ruthless. He couldn't die even if he wanted to. Yen Wu was too bored. She had accepted Sacred Master Void Sky's clone for fun. She didn't want to be so bored. Sacred Master Void Sky's clone was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Welcome back, Master! Gu Fei walked out slowly. The subordinates outside immediately bowed respectfully. You're out? Is it related to that spatial crack? Yen Wu asked directly. Everyone immediately pricked up their ears. Yes. Gu Fei nodded. At that moment, he actually sensed the fluctuations of his spiritual force in the limitless realm. In just a split second, he knew everything that his strand of consciousness had experienced in the unbounded realm. However, at the same time, he also sensed a familiar ripple of consciousness. Gu Fei had been in seclusion for 1,000 years, but only a month had passed in the limitless realm. The flow of time in these two realms was different. Actually, there was nothing strange about this. After all, every great realm had its own unique laws of heaven and earth. They were all different and unique. Given his current spiritual force cultivation, he could already sense the aura on the other side of the spatial crack. I will leave for a period of time. Wait for me to return. After saying that, Gu Fei disappeared into the void, leaving behind a dumbfounded crowd. What's going on? Sacred Master Chaotic Heaven asked in confusion. His cultivation was not as high as Gu Fei's, so he could not sense the situation on the other side of the spatial crack at all. It was the same for the other infinite primes. Even Yan Wu, whose cultivation was on par with Gu Fei, could not sense the aura on the other side of the spatial crack. After Gu Fei disappeared, the spatial crack in the sky above the void realm disappeared. It was as if the spatial crack had never appeared. Could it be? It can't be! I seem to have missed something. The limitless Demon Lord, Sacred Master Chaotic Heaven, and the limitless Sword Master seemed to have thought of something. The Emperor and Moing were the same. They were dumbfounded again. That spatial crack seemed very familiar. They couldn't help but recall the incident they had encountered in the limitless realm back then. They had all encountered the same thing. They had been swallowed by the spatial crack that had suddenly appeared and arrived in the void realm. Sacred Master Chaotic Heaven had walked into the spatial crack by himself. He had also arrived in the void realm through the spatial crack. Pfft. After the limitless Demon Lord understood, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The others also pounded their chests. At this moment, in the easternmost part of the limitless realm, in the territory of the East Moon Empire, a terrifying aura suddenly surged out of the spatial crack above Flying Cloud City. A terrifying figure walked out of the spatial crack. This person was Sacred Lord Void Sky. Sacred Lord Void Sky walked out of the spatial crack. This is the territory of the Limitless Emperor? Sacred Lord Void Sky was stunned after walking out of the spatial crack. She did not expect to appear in the easternmost part. The easternmost part was the territory of the Limitless Emperor. The Limitless Emperor was the #1 expert of the easternmost, and the ruler of the easternmost. All forces and people in the easternmost had to submit to him. He was the supreme existence that controlled the life and death of all living beings in the easternmost area. A bunch of ants fighting? Sacred Lord Void Sky looked down from above. Everyone on the ground was an ant in her eyes. Under Sacred Lord Void Sky's aura, everyone in the Flying Cloud City lay on the ground. Only 2 people stood in the plaza in front of the City Lord's residence. They were the clones of the Fatty and Gu Fei. Even Sword Master Dong Yu was trembling on the ground. Chapter 5702. Sacred Lord Void Sky's sudden appearance stunned Gu Fei's clone. He didn't think that he would meet the enemy that almost killed his main body at this time and in this sort of situation. Back then, this guy stabbed his main body in the back in order to break the boundary of the everlasting realm. If his main body hadn't cultivated the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, he would have died. Gu Fei's clone clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Sacred Master Void Sky, who was standing high up in the sky with a domineering expression. Gu Fei's clone clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Sacred Master Void Sky. His eyes were really red at this moment. At this moment, everyone in the entire Flying Cloud City apart from Gu Fei's clone and the Fatty were trembling on the ground under the terrifying pressure of Sacred Lord Void Sky. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. This was the terror of an everlasting realm existence. Sacred Lord Void Sky had only unintentionally revealed a trace of his aura, but it was enough to suppress the world and make all living beings tremble. It was as if he only needed a finger to crush the sky and earth. Kid, you're quite interesting. I seem to have met you before. Sacred Lord Void Sky noticed the young man on the plaza below. This young man's aura was very similar to the person he was familiar with. However, that person definitely wouldn't appear in the everlasting realm. This was because he knew how difficult it was to break the boundary of the everlasting realm. If he hadn't met that person and used him, he wouldn't have been able to return to the everlasting realm. As for the person who was used by him, he should be completely dead. In Sacred Lord Void Sky's eyes, no one could have survived that kind of situation. Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't feel guilty for killing Gu Fei. He didn't feel guilty at all. In order to return to the everlasting realm, he would do anything. He would even do something to his senior brother, Sacred Lord Chaotic Heaven. How could he do anything to Gu Fei? He only had himself. As long as he could live, it didn't matter to him whether others lived or died. This was Sacred Lord Void Sky. Therefore, Sacred Lord Void Sky thought that Gu Fei had died completely. However, he had never imagined that Gu Fei would be able to survive in such a perilous situation. Not only that, but he had also recovered his cultivation, and it was even stronger than before. When Gu Fei's clone saw Sacred Master Void Sky, he almost couldn't help but charge forward. However, he quickly endured it because the gap between him and Sacred Master Su Tian was too great. Her opponent was like a giant dragon in the sky, while he was just an insignificant ant on the ground. A dragon's spit could drown countless ants. This was the difference between Gu Fei's clone and Sacred Master Void Sky. I must endure. This little fatty looks a little familiar. Who is Sword Master Immeasurable to you? Sacred Lord Void Sky's gaze landed on the fatty beside Gu Fei. Immeasurable. Immeasurable. Sword Master? Mr. Jean, the successor of the Golden Sun's sacred ground, almost fainted when he heard this. That was the founding ancestor of the Immeasurable Sword sect. He was an infinite prime. However, the founding ancestor of the Immeasurable Sword sect had disappeared for countless years. No one knew where he went or what he was doing. If the Sword Master Immeasurable was still around, the entire East Pole wouldn't belong to the Immeasurable Emperor. However, even if the Sword Master Immeasurable was missing, the Immeasurable Sword sect was still one of the strongest superpowers in the East Pole. However, the Immeasurable Sword sect had no choice but to submit to the Immeasurable Emperor. I don't even know what you're talking about, the fatty said in disdain. Humph. Sacred Lord Su Tian, who was in the sky, had a thought. In the next moment, a sword light appeared in the void and slashed at the fatty. A tiny ant dared to disrespect a giant dragon? Kill him. This was because this ant had made Sacred Lord Void Sky unhappy. This sword seemed to be able to split the sky and earth in half. This was the power of splitting open the sky. This was just a thought from Sacred Lord Void Sky. As long as he was willing, he could kill everyone in the Flying Cloud City with just a thought. This was the terror of an infinite prime. They could kill everyone with a thought. If Sacred Lord Void Sky made a move, the fatty would definitely die. However, just as the fatty was about to be sliced in half by the sword light condensed by Sacred Master Su Tian's intent, an illusory figure emerged from the fatty's body. The moment the sword light struck the phantom, it was instantly devoured and absorbed by the phantom. It was as if such a sharp sword light had never appeared before. 10,000 swords return? Sacred Lord Void Sky couldn't help but be surprised. Could the Immeasurable Sword Master's source of sword principle be on the fatty? At this moment, the shadow that suddenly emerged from Fatty's body instantly entered Fatty's body and disappeared in an instant. Sacred Lord Void Sky was moved. The Immeasurable Sword Master's source of sword principle was good stuff. If she could obtain it, her cultivation would definitely increase by a lot. This guy really has a secret. Gu Fei's clone couldn't help but look at the fatty in a different light. He could clearly feel that an extremely strong power had awakened in the fatty's body. However, this power instantly disappeared. It seemed like the fatty couldn't control this power at all. Humph. The fatty was calm. Even in the face of an infinite prime, he was still as calm as an old dog. You're awesome. Gu Fei's clone couldn't help but give the fatty a thumbs up. The guy in the sky was Sacred Lord Void Sky. Little guy, come here. Sacred Lord Void Sky reached out with her right hand and grabbed the fatty below. It was as if the fatty had been grabbed by an invisible hand and was sent flying towards Sacred Lord Su Tian. Old man, don't you have any shame? The fatty scolded. This guy was an amazing infinite prime, but he actually dared to bully a junior. This wasn't something to be proud of. It was simply beneath his status. However, Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't care about face, identity, or status. As long as it was beneficial to him, Sacred Lord Void Sky would do it. Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't say anything, but her eyes became as cold as lightning. He grabbed Fatty's neck and lifted him up in his hand. As expected, haha, the immeasurable old ghost source of Sword Tao is actually on you. Sacred Lord Void Sky felt great. So what if it's on me? Can you take it away? The fatty mocked. However, the fatty immediately felt that something was wrong. Sacred Lord Su Tian grabbed the fatty's neck with her left hand, and the fingers of her right hand clasped onto the fatty's head. A ball of divine light that emitted a terrifying wave of sword wei immediately appeared on the top of the fatty's head. It was about to be forcibly taken away. Haha! Sacred Lord Void Sky laughed arrogantly. How is this possible? The fatty was stunned. The opponent's cultivation had exceeded his expectations. She could actually take away the source of Sword Tao in his body. However, just as Sacred Lord Void Sky was about to succeed, a fist suddenly appeared and smashed onto Sacred Lord Void Sky's face. Chapter 5703. The fatty didn't believe that this fella who had just walked out of the spatial crack would be able to take away the Sword Tao source in his body. However, when Sacred Lord Void Sky tried to take away his Sword Tao source, he realized that he had severely underestimated this fella. Sacred Lord Void Sky immediately took control of the fatty's Sword Tao source. The Sword Tao source, which contained boundless Sword Tao energy, appeared above the plate's head and was about to be devoured by Sacred Lord Void Sky. The fatty was both shocked and furious. At this moment, he was completely restrained by Sacred Lord Void Sky's power. He couldn't even move a finger. I'm really done for this time. The fatty was in despair. He didn't want to lose his Sword Tao source, nor did he want to die. If he lost the protection of the Sword Tao source, the fatty would be instantly killed by Sacred Lord Void Sky's aura. The presence of an infinite prime had reached an unimaginable level. With the fatty's cultivation, it was impossible for him to endure such pressure. However, at this critical moment, a fist suddenly appeared without any warning and smashed into Sacred Master Su Tian's face. The sound of bones breaking could be heard as Sacred Lord Void Sky's face caved in. Bam! With a muffled sound, Sacred Master Su Tian let go of the fatty and was sent flying thousands of miles away. Boom! She smashed through a mountain peak, and then another. Boom! She smashed through a second mountain peak. After smashing through 8 mountains, Sacred Master Void Sky finally stopped retreating. She was instantly buried by the rubble and sand from the countless mountains that had been blasted apart. Is this all you've got? A figure seemed to walk out of the void and directly appeared in front of everyone. It was a masked man in black clothes. Since he was masked, it meant that he didn't want to be recognized. Thank you for saving my life. I will definitely repay you. The fatty bowed to the masked man with a solemn expression. Meanwhile, Gu Fei's clone stared at the masked man in black. He knew who it was because he had a soul connection with this person. Why would my main body appear here? Could it be that my main body has found the passageway or method to enter the limitless realm? Gu Fei's clone was pleasantly surprised. With the arrival of his main body, he didn't care about anyone other than the beginning extreme Darch. In other words, with the arrival of the main body, there was no longer any reason for him to continue existing as a clone. At this moment, in the void of Gu Fei's clone's sea of consciousness, Wang Zhan's spirit was still undergoing all sorts of tempering. His spirit was gradually becoming stronger. Moreover, even though he was cultivating in the form of his soul, it was extremely real. It was no different from personally experiencing it. Only a powerful soul could control a powerful Taoist body. Gu Fei's clone had been training Wang Zhan, allowing him to control his own body. Roar! Wang Zhan's divine soul was in an endless mountain forest. He stood on a huge beast and roared towards the sky. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. In the surrounding forest, the roars of countless beasts could be heard. Huge silhouettes charged towards Wang Zhan's divine soul from all directions. This scene was created by Gu Fei's clone in the Sea of Consciousness. This place was like a real great world. Looks like it's time to return your body to you. A voice rang out in the vast Sea of Consciousness. Master, I don't think I'm strong enough. I hope I can continue cultivating here, Wang Zhan said loudly. If you can pass the final test, you will be qualified to be my disciple. The voice continued. At this moment, powerful silhouettes charged towards Wang Zhan from all directions. Every silhouette was extremely powerful. They were the terrifying beasts in the forest. A total of 12 wild beasts instantly arrived at Wang Zhan's location and pounced towards him at the same time. All of them were ferocious and terrifying to the extreme. Ha! Come on, all of you! Wang Zhan roared and leaped towards one of the wild beasts. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a terrifying wild beast. A great battle broke out. This was Wang Zhan's last battle in the Sea of Consciousness. If he defeated these 12 beasts, he would become Gu Fei's disciple. If he lost, he would not be qualified to become Gu Fei's disciple. However, Gu Fei would return Wang Zhan's Taoist body to him. Perhaps he would even impart a few unique techniques to him. From then on, Gu Fei would have nothing to do with him. However, Wang Zhan had to become Gu Fei's disciple. This was because he knew what he wanted. Only by becoming Gu Fei's disciple would he be able to obtain what he wanted. He wanted to become stronger. He wanted to become so strong that he could obtain everything he wanted with his own 2 hands. In the limitless realm, only the strong would be respected. Therefore, he had to defeat these 12 beasts. He had to defeat them. He had to defeat them. Wang Zhan attacked crazily and directly twisted the head of one of the beasts. However, his left shoulder was bitten by another beast, and a piece of flesh was torn off. Blood flowed everywhere. Although he was in the form of a spirit, he could still feel pain. It was as if he was really fighting with a beast of flesh and blood. The scene was extremely realistic. Bang! He directly punched the beast and sent it flying. However, the other beasts had already pounced on him. Soon, he was drowned by the figures of those beasts. Meanwhile, in the outside world. Roar! An angry roar came from thousands of miles away. A terrifying sound wave mixed with a powerful aura spread out in all directions. Wherever the sound wave passed, everything was destroyed. This destructive power was terrifying to the extreme. Mountain peaks were directly turned into ashes, and the powerful creatures in the mountain ridges were instantly destroyed in body and soul. The destructive power directly swept towards the Flying Cloud City. There were countless humans in the Flying Cloud City. If they were affected by this destructive power, the entire Flying Cloud City would be instantly turned into ashes. Sacred Lord Sutian was really angry. The black-clothed masked man in the sky couldn't help but frown when he saw this. At this moment, the energy storm was rapidly approaching the Flying Cloud City. The black-clothed masked man waved his right hand. A large seal immediately flew out from his hand and directly floated in the sky above the Flying Cloud City. An extreme Tao-level power surged down from the seal and enveloped the entire Flying Cloud City in an instant. Rumble! The mighty destructive storm directly collided with the protective shield formed by the power of the extreme level of the seal. The entire shield started to shake. The destructive storm was actually blocked. In just a few breaths' time, the area within thousands of miles became a land of silence. All life was wiped out, and billions of living creatures were directly killed. Within thousands of miles, billions of living creatures were all ants. Of course, the Flying Cloud City was an exception. Who is this guy? He's so powerful! Could it be that the limitless emperor has arrived? In the city, the fatty who had escaped from Sacred Lord Su Tian stared at the black-clothed masked man in the sky and muttered to himself. Chapter 5704. That's right, Gu Fei had come. However, he didn't want Sacred Master Void Sky to know that he had come to the Unbounded Realm. After all, he didn't understand the situation of the Unbounded Realm at all. However, he knew that the waters of the Unbounded Realm were deeper than those of any other world. After all, this was the Unbounded Realm. After all, the Unbounded Realm was the largest and most perfect world among all the great realms. After all, the life forms that were born in this supreme world would definitely be extremely powerful. After all, this was a legendary world where there was no death. Of course, there was no death here because all the life forms in the Unbounded Realm had extremely long lifespans. As long as they didn't court death, they would be able to live on forever. However, this so-called immortality seemed to have changed. As the ancient city that had been sealed in the 5 extremes broke free, the life forms in the vicinity of the ancient city started to die of old age. This caused panic in the Unbounded Realm. After all, for billions of years, all the life forms in the Unbounded Realm had thought that they had an endless lifespan. Although they would grow in age, they wouldn't die. To be more precise, they wouldn't die naturally. However, people were actually dying of old age in the Unbounded Realm now. This made all the lifeforms in the Unbounded Realm extremely afraid. Many people believed that a force was breaking the balance of the Unbounded Realm. Even the super antiques couldn't sit still anymore. Gu Fei, who had just arrived, did not know that the limitless realm was currently undergoing an unprecedented change. The moment he arrived in the limitless realm, he was shocked by how different this world was. The laws of the Unbounded Realm were very strange. They didn't suppress the cultivation of an outsider like him. Moreover, the laws of the Unbounded Realm didn't seem to be singular. This was interesting. This was something that Gu Fei had never encountered before. He had been to many great realms in the past, and the laws of those great realms were unique. However, this wasn't the case in the Unbounded Realm. This exceeded Gu Fei's understanding. Arg! Who the hell are you? At this moment, Sacred Master Void Sky, who had been sent flying by Gu Fei's fist, roared as she shot into the sky. Terrifying energy fluctuations emanating from his body swept across the sky and the earth. A terrifying energy storm swept out in all directions. Wherever this energy storm passed, it destroyed everything. Countless living beings were killed in body and soul, and even a thick layer of the ground was shaved off. Gu Fei immediately used the Chaos Seal to protect the flying cloud city below. As the energy storm swept past, the mountains near Flying Cloud City were directly turned into ashes. The ground sank thousands of feet. All living creatures died. This energy storm swept through the surrounding area of hundreds of thousands of miles. Billions of living beings were turned into ashes, and billions of areas became forbidden zones for living beings. In this region of hundreds of thousands of miles, there stood a lonely ancient city. Flying Cloud City instantly looked like being in the clouds. The surrounding mountains and woods had all disappeared. Half a mile away from the city wall, there was a 1,000-zhang high cliff. This square seal, you! How is this possible? Sacred Lord Void Sky stared at the seal floating in the air and was shocked. Wasn't this the boundless Tao treasure that Gu Fei had refined? Why was it in this person's hands? Sacred Lord Void Sky activated his mystic arts, and Tao patterns interweaved in his eyes. He wanted to see through the source of this black-robed man. However, he was disappointed. Even if he activated his mystic arts with all his might, the other party's body seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog. He couldn't see anything at all. You! Sacred Lord Void Sky's expression changed. However, he did not think that Gu Fei would be able to survive in such a situation where death was certain. This fellow couldn't be Gu Fei. Back then, Sacred Lord Void Sky had stabbed Gu Fei in the back in order to break through the realm wall of the boundless realm. She had squeezed out all of Gu Fei's energy. If he could survive like that, then he must have seen a ghost. Gu Fei didn't say anything. He directly put up a fist. In the next moment, his aura changed drastically. Powerful energy waves spread in all directions, and even the void shook. If one looked closely, they could see that countless hair-thin spatial cracks had appeared in the void around him. At this moment, everyone in the Flying Cloud City looked at the two terrifying figures in the sky in fear. It was everyone's first time seeing such supreme existences. It was also everyone's first time seeing the terror of such supreme existences. This was truly the annihilation of all lives with a single thought. This was also the reason why infinite primes didn't make a move easily. Once such existences started fighting, the consequences would be very severe. This was because the destructive power of such existences was just too shocking. Other than Gu Fei's doppelganger and the fatty, everyone else was trembling in fear. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. Dongwei Shuer, Dongwei Yuanliang, and the other members of the Dongwei royal family also became extremely insignificant at this moment. In the eyes of Sacred Lord Void Sky, these people were all ants. Is this the legendary infinite primes? Dongwei Shuer lay on the ground beside Gu Fei's clone and said with a trembling voice. It's too terrifying, Dongwei Yuanliang stuttered. Even Mr. Jin was speechless at this moment. The higher one's cultivation, the greater the suppression. On the contrary, the commoners in the city who didn't have any cultivation were the least affected. Go to hell! Feeling the pressure from Gu Fei, Sacred Lord Void Sky actually felt uneasy like never before. This feeling made him very unhappy. Sacred Lord Void Sky directly threw a punch at Gu Fei. Rumble! The entire heaven and earth shook under Sacred Lord Void Sky's fist. Pitch-black spatial cracks instantly extended from his fist, like bolts of black lightning wreaking havoc in all directions. The ground was directly swept by a spatial crack, and a bottomless abyss thousands of kilometers long appeared on the ground. Several spatial cracks rushed towards Gu Fei. Everyone was stunned. The power of this punch could simply be described as apocalyptic. Even space itself was almost destroyed. The moment these spatial cracks got close to Gu Fei, they directly disappeared into the void as if they were never there in the first place. The powerful fist force surged towards Gu Fei. Such a powerful fist force seemed to be able to crush everything. However, Gu Fei still maintained his stance and had no intention of attacking at all. Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, Sacred Lord Void Sky's powerful fist force actually disappeared in an instant. It completely disappeared. How is this possible? Sacred Master Su Tian's shock was not small at all. At this moment, a mysterious figure appeared silently in the distant sky. Chapter 5705. Gu Fei had come. He had hidden his identity, so Sacred Lord Su Tian didn't recognize him. Sacred Lord Su Tian was stunned by Gu Fei's punch, and he was enraged. He punched out at Gu Fei, and the violent fist energy shook the heavens and earth. Even the sky cracked under Sacred Lord Su Tian's fist. Pitch-black spatial cracks spread out in all directions like black lightning bolts, destroying everything in their path. However, all the terrifying destructive power disappeared the moment it touched Gu Fei's body. It disappeared without a trace, which made Sacred Lord Su Tian extremely shocked. How is this possible? Sacred Lord Su Tian couldn't believe it. He was a peak infinite prime, but someone could easily dissolve his fist force. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. At this moment, the aura of an infinite prime filled the sky. All living beings trembled under this supreme pressure. They were extremely terrified. Gu Fei didn't say anything. He just threw a punch at Sacred Lord Su Tian. This punch looked very ordinary, but all the power of heaven and earth seemed to be attracted by Gu Fei's punch and gathered on his fist. Boom! The air shook, and spatial cracks appeared once more. The number of spatial cracks that appeared this time was much more than the number of spatial cracks that Sacred Lord Void Sky had created with that punch. This was an invincible punch that pressed forward with an indomitable will. How dare you! Sacred Lord Su Tian roared and attacked crazily. Endless infinite prime power exploded from his body. Countless Tao patterns appeared in the sky. Every Tao pattern gave off a brilliant light of the great path. This was the supreme power of an infinite prime. Countless Tao patterns intertwined to form a huge palm that smashed at Gu Fei. Boom! With a loud bang, Gu Fei's fist collided with Sacred Lord Su Tian's palm of the great path. A thunderclap reverberated high up in the sky, causing the entire world to tremble. A destructive aura descended from the sky. Even Flying Cloud City, which was protected by the Boundless Chaos Seal, was shaken by the energy wave that erupted. The entire Flying Cloud City began to shake. Countless people in the city were terrified to the extreme. If it wasn't for the Boundless Chaos Seal that protected the entire Flying Cloud City, the entire city would have been turned into ashes and everyone in the city would have perished. Buzz! Above the Flying Cloud City, the Boundless Primal Chaos Seal was vibrating. An even more powerful energy wave was emitted from the seal, blocking the energy storm. At this moment, in the sea of consciousness that Gu Fei's clone had evolved, a bloodied man was standing on top of a pile of savage beast corpses in a boundless forest. There were wounds all over his body, and some of them were so deep that his bones could be seen. His left arm hung limply, and blood dripped onto the ground. Wang Zhan stood shakily, as if he could fall at any time. However, he did not fall. I didn't fall, did I win? Did I pass? Wang Zhan raised his head and looked at the sky, his eyes filled with determination. You passed! You are qualified to be my disciple. After a while, a voice rang in Wang Zhan's mind. The next moment, Wang Zhan felt the scenery around him change rapidly. Then, he realized that he was standing in a public square, and the people around him were lying on the ground, trembling. Only a fatty was standing next to him. He saw that the fatty was looking up at the sky, so he also looked up. Ah! Wang Zhan exclaimed as soon as his divine telekinesis left his body. He felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him, and he almost fell to the ground as well. The mighty pressure from the two figures in the sky caused his soul to tremble. All right, I'll return your body to you. Gu Fei's divine telekinesis voice rang in Wang Zhan's mind. Thank you, Master. Wang Zhan was extremely excited. He was very surprised that his master had returned him a divine-level Taoist body. Would he be able to control this power? He was a little worried, but he quickly calmed down. If he could not even do this, how could he become a formidable person? Wang Zhan quickly adjusted his mentality. Brother, I'm scared with you there. At this moment, a voice came from the carriage in the distance. Sister? Wang Zhan rushed forward and opened the door of the carriage. He saw his sister and mother hugging each other and trembling. They were clearly scared out of their wits. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Wang Zhan immediately felt relieved when he saw his mother and sister. As long as his mother and sister were fine, good days were coming. As long as they reached the East Moon royal capital, they would no longer have to live in fear. He was very confident in the master he had just become. At this moment, a loud sound came from the sky. The entire sky seemed like it was about to collapse. Two figures were sent flying high up in the sky. Terrifying black spatial cracks appeared in the sky and spread into the distance. The two supreme cultivators had finally started fighting. This is my goal. Wang Zhan looked at the battle in the sky and felt his blood boil. Shattering the void with a flick of a finger and destroying the universe with a raise of a palm. Such an existence was his goal of cultivation. He also wanted to become such a supreme existence. You're quite ambitious. At this moment, the fatty came to Wang Zhan's side. At this moment, a piece of memory suddenly appeared in Wang Zhan's mind. Then, he knew everything that had happened in the past few days. Meanwhile, Gu Fei's consciousness was still attached to Wang Zhan's body. If Gu Fei's consciousness wanted to return to his body, he would have to wait for Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky to finish. This was because the ultimate Chaos Seal had already sealed the entire Flying Cloud City. What's the difference between a person without ambition and a salted fish? Wang Zhan glanced at the fatty and said. You seem to make a lot of sense. The fatty was stunned when he heard this. Bam! Boom! Shocking sounds came from the sky. The fatty and Wang Zhan were attracted by the battle in the sky. However, Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky's speed was simply too fast. With their current cultivation, if Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't stop, they wouldn't even be able to catch a glimpse of their shadows. High up in the sky, the two figures suddenly stopped. Who are you? Sacred Lord Void Sky was about to go crazy. His nose had collapsed, his eyes were swollen, and all his teeth had been knocked out. He had basically been beaten into a pig's head by Gu Fei. Sacred Lord Void Sky, who was originally a peerless expert, was now in a very bad state. Moreover, what made Sacred Lord Void Sky so depressed was that he did not know who had beaten him into a pig's head. My dog-beating fist technique is not bad, right? Gu Fei, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said. Dog-beating. TFFF. Chapter 5706. Sacred Lord Void Sky spat out a mouthful of blood because of Gu Fei. He had never imagined that someone in the unbounded realm could defeat him. How was this possible? His cultivation state had already broken through to the peak of the peerless state. This was the peak of the peerless state. Sacred Lord Void Sky had originally been very confident, but now he had lost his confidence after being beaten up by Gu Fei. He had thought that he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the unbounded realm after returning, but reality was very cruel. There were now 5 big shots in the unbounded realm. Every single one of them was at least as strong as him. Therefore, Sacred Lord Void Sky went into hiding after returning to the unbounded realm. He had been away from the unbounded realm for a long time, so he would not make a move before he understood the situation in the unbounded realm. Moreover, no one knew how many unbounded primes were hiding in the unbounded realm. These super antiques were the strongest and scariest. The 5 extreme emperors were only experts of one realm on the surface. Sacred Lord Void Sky only made a move after spending a lot of time to understand the situation in the unbounded realm. He returned to his previous sect, but it had disappeared a long time ago. The original location of his sect had become a dangerous place that no one dared to set foot in. Sacred Lord Void Sky was shocked to see a huge palm print when he looked down at his sect. His sect was actually annihilated by a single palm strike. The person who had destroyed Sacred Lord Void Sky's sect was the Extreme East Emperor, the Extreme Beginning Emperor. The reason Sacred Lord Void Sky came to the East Pole was to find the limitless Extreme Emperor for revenge. He had wanted to challenge the Extreme East Emperor for a long time. This was the reason he had made a move. He had to take revenge for the destruction of his sect. Unfortunately, he had met Gu Fei the moment he broke through the void and appeared in the extreme east. Gu Fei had changed his aura and covered his face. Sacred Lord Void Sky had no idea that he was still alive. After all, there was no way that Gu Fei could have survived in the past. I'm going to kill you! Sacred Lord Su Tian was beaten into a pig's head by Gu Fei, and this made him go crazy. He roared and leapt at Gu Fei with a savage expression. Just as he was about to pounce on Gu Fei, his figure suddenly became blurry. Then, countless black shadows appeared in the void and surrounded Gu Fei in an instant. Kill! Countless black shadows roared and attacked Gu Fei at the same time. It was as if there were countless Sacred Lord Void Heavens attacking Gu Fei from all directions, sealing off all of Gu Fei's escape routes. Only the sword reigns supreme! Gu Fei's body shook. In the next moment, countless sword lights rushed out from his body. Sword lights rushed out from every pore on his body. Countless sword lights shot out from Gu Fei's body and pierced through Sacred Master Su Tian's shadow that was coming from all directions. In an instant, all of Sacred Lord Void Sky's shadows were pierced by the sword lights and disappeared in the void. Sword path. Sacred Lord Void Sky's real body was already close to Gu Fei, but the sword lights that rushed out from Gu Fei's body pierced through it. He had no choice but to retreat. This was because an even stronger sword path power had exploded from Gu Fei's body. The bright sword lights lit up the entire sky. The sword lights connected the sky and the ground, piercing through the sky. The terrifying sword wave spread out in all directions, destroying everything in its path. This sacred Lord Void Sky was so scared that cold sweat poured down his back. Luckily, he had retreated quickly. Otherwise, if he had been hit by the sword wave, even if he didn't die, he would have lost a layer of skin. Buzz! The void vibrated, and the sword wave was vast. Countless spatial cracks appeared in the void. At this moment, the infinite grade sword source power in the fatty's body actually started to vibrate as if it was going to rush out of his body. Could you be the infinite sword master? Sacred Lord Void Sky exclaimed. In the infinite realm, there weren't many supreme existences who were number one in the sword path. In the distant past, the number of people who could comprehend the way of the sword and reach infinite prime could be counted on one hand. The infinite sword master, who had created the infinite sword sect, was one of them. The other was the infinite sword master, who was also a sword maniac. However, these two people had disappeared one after the other. No one knew where they went, and no one knew if they were dead or alive. Apart from the two supreme infinite primes, there was only the one from the Gu family who possessed the laws of the sword in the infinite world. The Gu family was a cultivation family that had existed for countless years. It was also one of the most ancient families in the infinite realm. Furthermore, it was a hidden family that wouldn't appear in front of everyone. However, no one had dared to look down on the Gu family since ancient times. This was because those who looked down on the Gu family were all killed by the Gu family. That person from the Gu family definitely wouldn't appear in the East Pole. This was because the area where the Gu family was located was in big trouble. The Gu family didn't have the time to care about anything else. The dazzling sword light suddenly disappeared as if it had never been there. All the power of the sword path had been perfectly absorbed by Gu Fei into his body. At this moment, he was the sword, and the sword was him. You win! Sacred Lord Void Sky didn't even think before tearing open space and stepping into the crack in space. She instantly disappeared. Gu Fei didn't chase after him. He was just collecting some interest from Sacred Lord Void Sky today. Wouldn't it be too easy for him to kill this guy so easily? The other reason why Gu Fei didn't chase after Sacred Lord Void Sky was because he sensed the figure in the sky. It was an existence that made even Gu Fei feel threatened. Fellow Taoist, you're very skilled. At this moment, the person in the sky suddenly spoke. You're not bad yourself. You were watching from the side and I didn't notice you immediately. Impressive, Gu Fei said to the figure in the sky. I am the Limitless Emperor. Taoist, would you give me face and come to my place for a drink? The figure said. What? Gu Fei was shocked. He didn't think that he would meet Sacred Lord Void Sky and the Limitless Emperor as soon as he arrived in the Limitless Realm. You are the Limitless Emperor? Gu Fei was stunned. He killed one of the clones of the Limitless Emperor. The Limitless Emperor didn't even know that Gu Fei was the one who killed his clone. Although Gu Fei was shocked, he still looked as calm as a primordial divine mountain. This was because the beginning Extreme Emperor did not know that it was Gu Fei who had killed his clone that had gone to the lower realm with much difficulty. Sending an incarnation out of the Limitless Realm was definitely not an easy task. What? Taoist, are you not going to give me face? The Limitless Emperor said calmly. Sure, Gu Fei said. Haha, please. Chapter 5707. Gu Fei's real body came to the Boundless Realm and beat up Sacred Lord Void Sky, alerting the Boundless Emperor. The Boundless Emperor didn't know that it was Gu Fei who had destroyed his clone. Otherwise, the Boundless Emperor wouldn't have been so polite to Gu Fei. Gu Fei gladly accepted the Boundless Emperor's invitation. The 5 extreme emperors of the Boundless Realm were all ruthless people. Any one of them was an ancient being. They didn't rely on luck to become extreme emperors. Gu Fei's current cultivation had already broken through to the extreme Earth realm. 1,000 years ago, he was at the pinnacle of the extreme mortal realm. After coming to the Limitless Realm, His cultivation had finally reached the point where it flowed naturally. Without any obstruction, he directly broke through to the beginner level of the extreme earth realm. The peak of the boundless realm referred to the peak of the extreme mortal realm. The boundless realm was split into the extreme mortal realm, extreme earth realm, extreme heaven realm, extreme sage realm, extreme emperor realm, and ultimate realm. Each realm was further split into beginner, intermediate, advanced, and peak stages. Sacred Lord Void Sky had also reached the extreme earth realm, but she still couldn't beat Gu Fei. Although the boundless emperor wasn't a true extreme emperor realm, he was still a very strong person in the extreme heaven realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become an extreme emperor and rule over the entire extreme east realm. The difference between Gu Fei and the boundless emperor wasn't small. However, he could see the boundless emperor's cultivation level, but the boundless emperor couldn't. This was why the boundless emperor was so careful. One had to know that this guy had just beaten an extreme earth realm cultivator away. To be able to beat an extreme earth realm cultivator away, one had to be at least at the peak of the extreme earth realm. This was why the boundless emperor thought so highly of Gu Fei. However, he didn't expect that Gu Fei was only at the initial stage of the extreme earth realm. Sacred Lord Void Sky thought that she was strong enough to do whatever she wanted in the boundless realm. She believed that her cultivation level was the strongest in the boundless realm. But the truth was that he had been slapped in the face by Gu Fei. It was no wonder that Sacred Lord Su Tian felt that he was already standing at the peak of the limitless realm with his cultivation. However, that was something that happened countless years ago. Countless years had passed, and the power structure of the limitless realm had already changed. In particular, there were quite a few super old-timers who had broken through to the legendary extreme heaven stage. Before Sacred Lord Void Sky left the infinite realm, the extreme earth realm was the strongest existence in the infinite realm. It was the highest realm that an infinite prime could reach, the peak of cultivation. Thus, Sacred Lord Void Sky thought that he was very powerful. However, who would have thought that there were plenty of antiques in the everlasting realm that could beat him like a dog? Who the hell is that guy? Sacred Lord Void Sky immediately ran out of the easternmost region. He was like a dog that had lost its home and didn't dare to stay. However, he couldn't figure out who had defeated him no matter how hard he racked his brain. Gu Fei did not reveal his true identity. I don't care who he is. Just wait till I get my hands on that thing. Humph, everyone who offends me will die, Sacred Lord Void Sky said through gritted teeth. Swoosh! His figure disappeared into the void again. When he reappeared, he was already billions of miles away. This was the power of infinite primes. They could traverse hundreds of millions of kilometers with a single thought. In the infinite realm, there was no teleportation array that could match the speed of an infinite prime. Moreover, no one was willing to spend so much effort to create an infinite prime teleportation array. One had to know that activating an infinite prime teleportation array would require a huge amount of energy. This wasn't something that ordinary sects could afford. Sacred Lord Void Sky headed straight for the North Pole of the infinite realm. He wanted to obtain an item that would allow him to do whatever he wanted in the infinite realm. With this item, even the 5 extreme emperors would have to obediently submit to him. If they didn't submit, he would destroy them all. While Sacred Lord Void Sky was heading to the North Pole, Gu Fei was invited to the Extreme Emperor's palace by the Extreme Emperor's invitation. After passing through the light gate formed by a layer of restrictive spells, Gu Fei felt his eyes light up. What he saw was a divine mountain surrounded by spiritual energy floating in the void. On every divine mountain, there were pavilions, terraces, and pavilions. There were celestial birds flying in the sky, and celestial beasts roamed the mountains from time to time. Many powerful auras radiated from every sacred mountain. It was obvious that there were experts cultivating on every sacred mountain. The spirit chi of heaven and earth was extremely dense. One could see spirit chi flickering in the air at any time. The sacred mountains, in particular, were surrounded by spirit chi. This was a true blessed land. Taoist, you must have gathered all the spirit chi of heaven and earth in the entire East Pole here, right? Gu Fei exclaimed. Taoist, you have good eyes. This place is definitely the #1 holy land in the East Pole. The extreme emperor smiled. He was a little proud. He had managed this place for countless years. It wasn't easy for him to reach this scale. It truly lives up to its name. Gu Fei nodded. To have such a holy land, it was no wonder the extreme emperor could become the ruler of the East Pole. With his background, wouldn't it be child's play for him to train countless loyal subordinates? One should know that in a place like this where the spirit chi of heaven and earth was concentrated, even a pig that was thrown here could become an immortal after some time. Actually, at the extreme emperor's place, spiritual objects would occasionally develop intelligence and transform into human forms. The 13th disciple of the extreme emperor was a celestial stone. "Welcome back, master!" Just then, a group of people came from afar. These people were wearing immortal robes and had star crowns on their heads. Every single one of them was surrounded by immortal chi, and the heavenly light of the great path appeared behind their heads. Every movement they made was extraordinary. The two people at the front were a man and a woman. The man was extremely handsome while the woman's beauty was out of the world. Of course, in the cultivation world, as long as one was successful in cultivation, not many would be ugly. Everyone was handsome and beautiful. The reason was very simple. Those who were successful in their cultivation could change their appearance at will, and naturally, everyone liked beautiful things. No matter where you were, appearance was very important. Everyone wanted to be beautiful. "Come, let me introduce you. This is my first disciple, Yuan Gu. This is my second disciple, Lingxi. This is..." The extreme emperor introduced them one by one. Of his 13 disciples, 5 were here. The others were not in the extreme emperor's sacred ground. "Yuan Gu?" When Gu Fei heard this name, he was shocked. His eyes sparkled. He was not unfamiliar with this name. Wasn't the Heaven Realm's Eastern Emperor Xian called Yuan Gu? Was there a connection between the two? Heaven Realm's Eastern Emperor Xian Yuan Gu was the most mysterious existence in the Heaven Realm. Even today, Gu Fei did not know what this Eastern Emperor Xian looked like. Gu Fei's gaze fell on Yuan Gu. This person was the first disciple of the Extreme Emperor. He was also very powerful, a half-step unbounded being. However, this person was in the unbounded realm. It was impossible for him to appear in the Heaven Realm. However, nothing was absolute. Weren't Sacred Lord Void Sky, Sacred Lord Chaotic Sky, Sword Master Wuji, and Demon Master Wuji from the unbounded realm? Didn't they appear in the lower realm? "Friend, please follow me." After the introduction, the Extreme Emperor brought Gu Fei to the Extreme Emperor Palace. Chapter 5708. When Gu Fei's main body went to the Extreme Emperor Palace, the people in Flying Cloud City were troubled. They discovered that they were trapped in Flying Cloud City. The city was surrounded by cliffs thousands of meters high. It was impossible for ordinary people to leave Flying Cloud City. Of course, that was except for those Earth-rank cultivators who could soar and fly in the sky. Because Earth-rank cultivators could control the spiritual chi of the world and fly in the sky, they could naturally enter and leave Flying Cloud City freely. The problem was that there were not many people in Flying Cloud City who could cultivate above the Earth rank. In other words, most people were trapped in Flying Cloud City. This was the result of the battle between Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Void Sky. Moreover, Gu Fei had not taken away the seal of chaos floating above Flying Cloud City. That was to guard against Sacred Lord Void Sky. That guy was despicable. At this moment, the city lord of Flying Cloud City, Chanaotian, was released. Dongwei Yuanliang and Mr. Jean became prisoners and were directly thrown into a prison carriage. Dongwei Shuer directly controlled the entire Flying Cloud City. Fatty and Wang Zhan were even more valued by Dongwei Shuer. Right now, Dongwei Shuer was doing her best to curry favor with the two of them. Both of them were people from the heavens. As long as she could cling onto their thighs, it would not be difficult for her to even become the empress of the Dongwei Empire. Especially Fatty. He was someone who did not even care about first-rate forces like the Shade Mountain's sacred ground and the Golden Sun's sacred ground. The battle prowess that Wang Zhan displayed was also worthy of Dong Wueshuer's favor. One should know that Wang Zhan was currently at the early divine level. He was someone who could do whatever he wanted in the East Moon Empire. Even in the East Moon Imperial capital, the East Moon Imperial Lord had to personally receive him. In the Endless Realm, only the strong were worthy of respect. Fatty was even more unfathomable. Your Highness, what should we do? Chinaotian, the city lord of Flying Cloud City, asked Dong Wueshuer, who sat on the throne in the main hall of the city lord's residence. The current Feiyan city had really become an isolated city. They had already gone out to investigate. With Flying Cloud City as the center, the area within a radius of over 100,000 miles had become a dead land. There was no sign of life in this area. Even if ordinary people could leave the Flying Cloud City, they would not be able to walk out of this desolate land which covered over 100,000 miles. It seemed impossible for them to escort the Overlord War Immortal back to the East Moon Imperial capital. Let's travel light. Dong Wueshuer glanced at the people in the hall and said indifferently. At this moment she had subdued the guests that Dong Yuanliang brought, greatly increasing her strength. Furthermore, even Sword Master Dong Wei was scared out of his wits and fled without a trace. Gu Fei and Sacred Lord Su Tian naturally would not take a mere Sword Master Dong Yu seriously. After the battle of the infinite powers, Sword Master Dong Yu immediately fled. Gu Fei's strand of spiritual sense was still on Wang Zhan. Now that Wang Zhan had passed the test, he could be considered the first disciple that Gu Fei had accepted in the infinite realm. Although this person's talent was not very impressive, it was not impossible to nurture him. Back when Gu Fei was in the Taishian sect, he was seen as trash by his peers and bullied by everyone. However, Gu Fei, that trash, had made it all the way to this day and become an infinite martial exalt. As for those who had mocked and bullied him back then, they had all died a long time ago. Not many of those people had survived until now. In Gu Fei's opinion, talent was important, but the most important thing was one's temperament. How could a person who did not have confidence in himself become an expert? If one's talent was not enough, one could make up for it with hard work. It was impossible to return to the East Moon Imperial capital in style. He could only bring those who could fly and escort the Overlord War Immortal back to the Imperial capital. If he wanted to show off a little, it was not impossible. Wasn't there a city 15 kilometers away from the East Moon Royal capital? If he stayed in Fallen Moon City for a day, wouldn't a single word from Dong Wueshuer be enough to do whatever he wanted? Thinking of this, Dong Wueshuer's mood improved again. Get ready. We'll leave this place immediately. City Lord Qin, after I leave, Flying Cloud City will depend on you. Dong Wueshuer said to Chinaotian. Your Highness, this. Chinaotian was depressed. Flying Cloud City had become an isolated city. There were more than 100,000 people in the city, and it was a huge problem to feed them. This was because they could not find any food around Flying Cloud City. Once the food in the city was depleted, the consequences would be unimaginable. I know what you're worried about. How about this? I'll send a message to the Imperial capital and ask my father to send people to help you. Dong Wueshuer said after a moment of silence. Then I thank your Highness on behalf of the people in the city. Chinaotian heaved a sigh of relief. The closest city to Flying Cloud City had already been reduced to ashes, and the nearest city was more than 100,000 li away. If they did not receive help, Flying Cloud City would probably become a place even more terrifying than hell. Soon Dong Wueshuer and the rest were ready to set off in the square in front of the city lord's mansion. This time, less than 200 people would follow Dong Wueshuer out of Flying Cloud City. Wang Zhan, his mother, and sister would naturally follow Dong Wueshuer back to the imperial capital, followed by Dong Yuanliang's hanger-ons. These people were all experts, so flying in the air was a piece of cake for them. Your Highness, what about these prisoners? Dragon Elephant Barbarian glanced at the dozen sword cultivators and the big guy. These were the people they caught along the way to rescue the prisoners. These people all knelt on the ground, including the hegemonic young lord of the Heaven Tyrant Empire. Hegemonic War God was still locked in the prisoner carriage. Dongwei Shuer had locked hegemonic war god, Dongwei Yuanliang, and Mr. Jin together. Apart from the three in the carriage, kill the rest. Dongwei Shuer ordered. What, Dongwei Shuer, you dare to kill me? I'm a young lord of the Heaven Tyrant Empire. If you dare to kill me, my brother will not let you off. Hearing that Dongwei Shuer wanted to kill him, hegemonic young lord immediately exploded. He did not want to die, so he roared at Dongwei Shuer. Who do you think you are? I don't dare to kill you. Haha, what a joke. I'll kill you right now, what can you do to me? Dongwei Shuer said as she took a step forward, instantly arriving in front of hegemonic young lord. She then kicked him to the ground and stomped on his chest. Crack! The sound of bones breaking came from hegemonic young lord's body. Dongwei Shuer did not show any mercy, breaking a few of hegemonic young lord's ribs with a single stomp. Hegemonic young lord coughed out blood continuously. You! Hegemonic young lord stared at Dongwei Shuer. If looks could kill, Shuer would have died countless times over. I'll send you on your way. Dongwei Shuer did not hesitate and stomped down with her right foot. Chapter 5709. Dongwei Shuer stomped young Lord Ba Fei to death with a single stomp, shocking everyone present. After all, that was the young Lord Ba Fei. He was the favorite younger brother of the Tyrant Sky Emperor, and the only king in the Tyrant Sky Empire who was allowed to own a private army. However, such a prominent figure had been stomped to death by Dongwei Shuer. Piercing the heavens! Someone's voice trembled. It was not hard to imagine that the Tyrant Sky Emperor knew that his younger brother had been stomped to death by Dongwei Shuer. The enraged Tyrant Sky Emperor would definitely launch an all-out war against the East Moon Empire, fighting to the death. Over the past several thousand years, the tyrannical Heaven Empire and the East Moon Empire had only engaged in small skirmishes. Even when a war broke out, it was only a small-scale war. That was because everyone knew that once an all-out war broke out between these two empires, there would definitely be no winner. Both sides would suffer great losses, and they would be swallowed up by other forces that were eyeing them covetously. Whether it was the overlord of the East Moon Empire or the overlord of the Tyrant Sky Emperor, either of them was willing to see their empire be annexed by another force. However, things were different now. Tyrant Fei was dead, and he was stomped to death by Dongwei Shuer in front of everyone. No one could guess what kind of outrageous things the enraged overbearing Sky Sovereign would do. Are you satisfied now? Wang Zhan told Dongwei Shuer. Not bad, I've finally vented my anger. Dongwei Shuer let out a long sigh. Ba Fei was truly despicable. He actually wanted to capture her and make her his feet-washing servant. This made the great princess extremely displeased. Moreover, Ba Fei had even planned several assassinations against the East Moon Overlord. This fellow was despicable, shameless, and unscrupulous. Such a person could not be allowed to return to the tyrannical Sky Empire alive. With Fatty and Wang Zhan's help, Dongwei Shuer really did not have to worry about Overlord Tyrant Sky Sovereign. After all, the two of them were impressive people who could face infinite primes head-on. Dongwei Shuer would never be able to forget what had happened in the square yesterday. Everyone lay on the ground and trembled before the might of an infinite prime. However, there were only Fatty and Wang Zhan. Only they could still stand proudly in the square. Even the supreme might of an infinite prime was unable to make them kneel. Even infinite primes were unable to strike fear into their hearts. The tyrannical Sky Empire was nothing in the eyes of such a person. We should go. Wang Zhan looked at the sky and said. At this moment, Wang Zhan had already found the confidence he had lost. He was no longer weak, he was no longer dispirited, he no longer felt sorry for himself, because he was no longer the same as before, because he had his own confidence. At the moment, Gu Fei's spiritual force was still attached to Wang Zhan's body. Kill them all! Dongwei Shuer calmly ordered. Wait, do you know who we are? The leader of the dozen or so sword cultivators roared at Dongwei Shuer, with a stern expression. Tisk, why would I care who you are? Dongwei Shuer didn't care at all. Preposterous! We are the outer sect disciples of the Infinite Sword sect. If you kill us, the Infinite Sword sect will definitely avenge us. The Sword sect can't be insulted. I won't rest until I die. When these Sword Dao cultivators saw that Dongwei Shuer was really going to kill them, they were all shocked and terrified. They couldn't sit still anymore, because they didn't want to die. Haha, you still won't rest until you're dead? Dongwei Shuer laughed. Even Sword Master Dong Yu was beaten away. Even 1,000 or 10,000 outer sect disciples can't compare to a single Sword Master Dong Yu. What a joke. Even Sword Master Dong Yu's brother died in Flying Cloud City. Who do you think you are? To hell with the Infinite Sword sect. Dongwei Shuer's subordinates sneered. You! The group of Sword Dao cultivators were terrified. What are you waiting for? Dongwei Shuer was getting impatient. Kill! Dongwei Shuer's newly subdued subordinates immediately killed the Sword Dao cultivators and the big guy who were kneeling on the ground. These captives were no longer of value to Dongwei Shuer. At this moment, Wang Zhan waved his right hand, and the giant seal floating above the Flying Cloud City immediately shrunk rapidly. The light barrier that enveloped the entire Flying Cloud City also retreated like a tide, and instantly disappeared into the giant seal. The Chaos Seal flew towards Wang Zhan and hovered above his right palm. Chaotic chi swirled around, and mysterious patterns of the way intertwined around the seal. A powerful aura of the Great Path surged out from the seal. The aura of the Great Path was not very strong, but the surrounding people felt like they were bathing in the Great Path. They became extremely clear-headed, and their cultivation showed signs of breaking through. Some people even heard the divine voice of the Great Path. This, a supreme treasure! If only I could have it! The surrounding people were extremely jealous. This item was definitely at the infinite grade. If they could use this seal to cultivate, they would definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Some people even thought of killing Yifutian for the treasure. Of course, these people were only thinking about it. No one dared to do anything at that moment. This was a supreme Tao item left behind by a supreme existence at the infinite prime realm. At that moment, everyone was extremely curious as to how Wang Zhan could obtain this supreme Tao item. This, even Dongwei Shuer and the others' eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Only the fatty was not too surprised when he saw this. He only looked at Wang Zhan thoughtfully. Let's go! Dongwei Shuer did not dare to ask and took to the air herself. Then, for Peak Earth Realm cultivators carried a palanquin and flew into the air. Naturally, the palanquin contained Wang Zhan's family. The others also flew into the air and followed Dongwei Shuer out of Flying Cloud City. Wang Zhan and the fatty followed behind unhurriedly. The Chaos Seal had already been absorbed into Wang Zhan's body. He wanted to use the seal's power to nourish his body and make it even stronger. In the infinite realm, only the strong could obtain everything they wanted. Wang Zhan really wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. Just as Dongwei Shuer and the others left Flying Cloud City, Gu Fei was in the Extreme Emperor Palace chatting happily with Extreme Emperor Wuchu. Master! At that moment, Yuan Gu walked in from the outside. Fellow Taoist, excuse me for a moment. Extreme Emperor Wuchu stood up and smiled. Of course, of course. Gu Fei picked up the cup of tea in front of him and took a sip. This was Hongmeng tea, which was even rarer than the Enlightenment tea. The fragrance of the tea could make an ordinary person immune to all diseases and increase their lifespan by a few hundred years. On the jade table before him were all sorts of immortal fruits. Any one of them was something Gu Fei could not find even after countless years of searching. However, these immortal fruits and immortal herbs of immortality were used by the beginning Extreme Emperor as food for his guests. However, the moment the Extreme Emperor stepped out of the Extreme Emperor's palace, the entire palace began to shake violently. Ha ha! Extreme Emperor Wuchu's proud laughter could be heard from outside. You! Gu Fei was both shocked and enraged. At this moment, he realized he was trapped in the palace. Countless formation runes appeared in the air and intertwined into countless formation patterns. powerful infinite realm energy exploded, and the palace he was in instantly turned into a prison that could imprison an infinite prime. You dare scheme against me? Gu Fei was enraged. Haha, so what if I scheme against you? It's not like I haven't schemed against people like you before. Those people's souls have already dispersed, leaving only their origin energy that I refined into a part of my own power. Extreme Emperor Wuchu laughed. What? Gu Fei did not expect Extreme Emperor Wuchu to be so devious and ruthless. He specialized in plotting against infinite primes. This person was too terrifying. Chapter 57:10. Haha! The limitless Emperor's arrogant laughter could be heard from outside. At this time, the entire Extreme Emperor Palace had turned into a terrifying cage, trapping Gu Fei within. Gu Fei sat cross-legged in the air and opened his unbounded heaven's eye. A beam of purple gold light appeared from between his eyebrows and scanned his surroundings. Under the gaze of the purple gold heaven's eye, countless Tao inscriptions appeared in the air. These Tao inscriptions intertwined to form terrifying killing arrays. The layers of killing arrays trapped Gu Fei inside. What a guy! Gu Fei couldn't help but admire this limitless Extreme Emperor. This guy actually built such an awesome prison. This kind of method was indeed beyond his imagination. He didn't expect there to be someone even crazier than Sacred Lord Su Tian. Gu Fei scanned his surroundings with his unbounded heaven's eye and saw through the true nature of the prison. The layers of killing arrays were all boundless grade. Moreover, every Tao inscription that formed the array was boundless grade. Even the Tao treasures that guarded the eye of the array were boundless grade. Everything was boundless grade. The Extreme Emperor Palace had already disappeared. The magnificent pavilions had turned into a horrifying purgatory where earth, water, fire, and wind wreaked havoc everywhere. In the limitless Emperor's territory, countless sacred mountains in the sky shot out beams of light. These sacred mountains were also part of the array. The beams of light entered the purgatory in the sky. These sacred mountains had boundless grade spirit gathering arrays. These spirit gathering arrays were providing heaven and earth's spiritual chi to the purgatory. Beneath this world was the ancestral vein of the endless realms east. One had to admit that the limitless Emperor was too ruthless. He used the power of the east ancestral vein to refine the boundless realm trapped in the purgatory in the sky. This was all part of the limitless Emperor's meticulous plan. Even before Gu Fei opened his peerless heaven's eye, he couldn't see through this place. He never thought that the sacred ground created by the peerless heaven's eye was actually a super-array. It wasn't that he had let his guard down, but he hadn't expected the Extreme Emperor of the East Pole to do such a despicable thing. Congratulations on obtaining another boundless Tao fruit, Master. Outside the purgatory prison, Yuan Gu and the other disciples congratulated the limitless Emperor respectfully. Yuan Gu and the others were also very happy. Since their master was eating meat, they could also get some soup. Their master only wanted the other party's Wuji Dao fruit. He did not care about anything else. The antiques of the infinite primes had a very rich collection. Haha! After this is done, you will all be rewarded. Extreme Emperor Peerless was very happy. He had schemed for countless years, casting down this terrifying purgatory killing formation that could even refine infinite primes to death. He wanted to kill infinite primes and steal their origin of ways. Moreover, he had succeeded a few times before this. Otherwise, how could he have broken through to the supreme heaven realm? This was Extreme Emperor Peerless' secret, a secret that could rapidly increase one's cultivation. Others thought that he had broken through to the supreme heaven realm through cultivation, but no one expected him to increase his own cultivation by devouring other people's Wuji Dao fruit. What was the difference between this kind of behavior and evil? You bastard, you're an infinite prime emperor. How can you be so despicable? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by the world? Gu Fei sat in the purgatory prison, his body glowing with the divine light of the great path, blocking all the destructive power. He was fine for now. Laughed at by the world? Haha! The beginning Extreme Emperor laughed even more wildly when he heard this. Our master is a great hero in front of the world. That's right, our master has unparalleled prestige in the East Pole. He is a leader of the righteous path. Yuan Gu and the others said solemnly. I see. Gu Fei understood. Extreme Emperor Peerless was a two-faced person. On one side, he was a leader of the righteous path, but on the other side, he was a terrifying demon. It seemed like he was a very cautious person. This place is isolated from the world. Who would know that I killed you here? Extreme Emperor Peerless was very pleased. It was not easy to kill an infinite prime in the infinite realm. To Extreme Emperor Peerless, killing an infinite prime was an achievement. Damn it! Gu Fei was truly enraged. Powerful infinite power erupted from his body, blocking the destructive power that was surging towards him from all directions. However, the purgatory prison's power continued to increase. Haha, you're just struggling. Your fate was decided the moment you stepped into this sacred land. Extreme Emperor Peerless said proudly. My fate is up to me. You're just an Extreme Emperor, and you want to take my life? You want to take my origin? Dream on. Gu Fei pointed his middle finger at Extreme Emperor Peerless. Hee, then you can slowly enjoy the pain of having your soul refined in there. Extreme Emperor Peerless activated all the formations in the sacred land. Boundless power from the ancestral veins of the earth was forcefully gathered by the formations. Rumble! The entire sacred land shook. The land that Extreme Emperor Peerless had created seemed like it was about to collapse. The power of the entire sacred land gathered towards the center of the purgatory prison. A dragon's roar could be heard from the depths of the earth. The earth dragon turned and the ancestral veins of the earth were released. A huge dragon silhouette emerged from each of the divine mountains. These dragon silhouettes charged directly towards the center of the formation. The dragon shadow passed through the void and the formations, breaking through Gu Fei's defensive power and wrapping around Gu Fei's body. This was the dragon shadow formed from the ancestral veins of the easternmost grounds. Gu Fei's bones almost broke when the dragon shadow wrapped around him. So powerful! Gu Fei finally understood how terrifying the power of heaven and earth of the infinite realm was. It was no wonder it was the highest level of the infinite realm. No wonder Extreme Emperor Peerless had the ability to refine infinite primes. It really wasn't difficult for him to kill an infinite prime with the power of the ancestral veins of the earth. But so what? Even sacred leader Su Tian couldn't kill me back then. Do you think Extreme Emperor Peerless can? Gu Fei didn't have his current cultivation back then. Gu Fei thought to himself, I want to see what you're up to. He gave up resisting and pretended to be no match for the ancestral veins of the earth. His entire body was crushed by the dragon's shadows and turned into a bloody mist. Within the blood mist, a ball of divine light was faintly discernible. Origin of the Great Path? Extreme Emperor Peerless was surprised and overjoyed when he saw this. The ancestral veins of the easternmost grounds were extremely powerful. Normal infinite primes couldn't fight against them. But even so, Extreme Emperor Peerless still felt that Gu Fei was too weak. He was strangled to death by the dragon shadows. Of course, Gu Fei wasn't dead yet. Soul-destroying formation, activate! Extreme Emperor Peerless yelled and the entire formation changed. A terrifying soul-destroying power engulfed Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path. At this moment, Extreme Emperor Peerless used the soul-destroying formation at full force. The terrifying soul-destroying light swept across and the blurry figure inside Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path disappeared. Much easier than I expected. Extreme Emperor Peerless was slightly surprised when he saw this. He didn't expect someone who could defeat an infinite prime at the initial stage of the Earth realm to be killed so quickly. One had to admit that this guy was very careful. He used the soul-destroying formation to sweep across Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path over a dozen times before dispersing the formation. Extreme Emperor Peerless waved his right hand and Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path flew into his hand. Haha! Chapter 57:11. Gu Fei did not expect one of the 5 overlords of the limitless realm, the Extreme East Limitless Emperor, to be such a cunning and despicable person. This really refreshed Gu Fei's worldview. It was unbelievable that the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm had such a dark side to him. Was there no bottom line in order to increase one's cultivation level and breakthrough? Gu Fei could not do that. He had a bottom line. He would not attack others if they did not attack him. If they attacked him, they would have to bear the consequences. Gu Fei had also refined the source energy of other experts before. However, those people were people who wanted to kill him. If they wanted to kill him, why would he hold back? Gu Fei had never thought of himself as a saint. The world was fair. At least in his heart, there was a principle of fairness. Therefore, he did not forget his original intentions. However, the Extreme Emperor's actions had crossed Gu Fei's bottom line. This limitless Extreme Emperor didn't know what was right or wrong and wanted to kill Gu Fei right away. This shocked and angered Gu Fei. One could only say that the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm was ruthless and unscrupulous in order to increase his cultivation level. Limitless Extreme Darch had opened up a huge array in the void. He had dug a trap and lured Gu Fei into it. Then, he had found an excuse to leave and attack Gu Fei. All of this had been arranged in advance. It was terrifying to think about. At this point, the Extreme Emperor placed Gu Fei's origin of Tao in the deepest part of the treasure vault. I just refined 2 origin energies of the Limitless Realm not too long ago. It looks like I'll have to wait a while before I can refine another one. The Extreme Emperor looked at the origin of Tao in front of him and drooled. Other than Gu Fei's origin of Tao, there were 2 other origin energies of the Limitless Realm. These were the purest and strongest origin energies of the Limitless Realm. Master, when can I take that half-step? Yuan Gu, who was behind the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm, suddenly asked. What's the rush? The Extreme Emperor said calmly. Yuan Gu was very talented in cultivation. He was already at the half-step Limitless Realm. He was only half a step away from the true Limitless Realm. He was very jealous of the Infinity Emperor's collection of Infinity Tao sources of the Great Path. However, he did not have the fortune to enjoy the origin of the Great Path because it was an unbounded origin of the Great Path. The ripples of the origin of the Great Path had already been sealed by the unbounded Emperor. If the origin of the Great Path was exposed to Yuan Gu, even if he was a half-step boundless realm cultivator, he would still be destroyed by the energy fluctuations of the origin of the Great Path. His body and soul would be destroyed. This was a true origin of ways at the infinite level. Only infinite primes could approach it. As the eldest disciple of the Extreme Emperor, Yuan Gu was his most trusted subordinate. In the entire Extreme Emperor Palace, only Yuan Gu had the right to enter the treasure pavilion. Not to mention entering the treasury, even getting close to the treasury would put them in danger of triggering the restrictive formation and losing their lives. The treasure pavilion contained countless rare treasures that the Infinity Emperor had obtained. There were even a few Infinity Tao treasures hidden on the highest level of the treasure pavilion. Yuan Gu lowered his head and did not dare to speak again. His cultivation had been stuck at half-step Infinite Prime for a very long time, and he still had not broken through to true Infinite Prime. He was rather anxious. Remember that he wasn't the only disciple of the Ultimate Emperor. All these years, the other disciples' cultivation levels had increased by quite a bit. If the other disciples caught up to him in terms of cultivation level, then it would be very embarrassing for him as the first senior brother. All right, let's go! After putting away Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path, the Extreme Emperor waved his sleeves and a ball of divine light enveloped the Extreme Emperor and Yuan Gu. The 2 of them disappeared into the void. Inside the treasure pavilion, all sorts of treasures emitted resplendent divine lights. The lights were multicolored and extremely gorgeous. Especially the 3 Infinity Tao origins. Even though they had been sealed by the Extreme Emperor, they were still as bright as 3 suns. The light emitted from the top of the treasure pavilion lit up half the sky. Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path was purple gold, and it was the brightest of the 3 Infinity Tao origins. The other 2 Infinity Tao origins were much weaker. Time passed, and the treasure pavilion was extremely quiet. Soon, more than 20 hours passed. Without any warning, the Extreme Emperor suddenly appeared at the top of the treasure pavilion. He stared at Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path for a while before leaving. This guy is really cautious. A blurry figure appeared from the depths of Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path. The Extreme Emperor wanted to refine Gu Fei's primordial spirit, but he didn't know that Gu Fei had cultivated the 9 secrets of the Immortal Path. How could his primordial spirit be so easily refined? Even if Gu Fei's primordial spirit was destroyed, it could still reform. He was only pretending to be refined by the Extreme Emperor. The Extreme Emperor wanted to trick Gu Fei, but wasn't Gu Fei also trying to trick the Extreme Emperor? One shouldn't have the intention to harm others, but one must always be on guard. This was the reason why Gu Fei could make it this far. He looked like he wasn't on guard against the Extreme Emperor, but he was actually prepared for the worst. Gu Fei's primordial spirit reformed, and a faint figure appeared from the origin of the Great Path. The next moment, the origin of the Great Path disappeared. In the blink of an eye, Gu Fei used the origin of the Great Path to reconstruct his physical body. As long as the origin of the Great Path existed, Gu Fei could instantly revive with his current cultivation level. Haha, you dared to trick me? Gu Fei looked at the treasures around him, and almost laughed out loud. I'll make you bleed today! And Wu Chu, this fellow is simply deranged. When Gu Fei saw the true origin of the Great Path, he couldn't help but be shocked. The Extreme Emperor really did kill at least 2 infinite primes. Haha, now I'm the one getting lucky. Gu Fei waved his hand and took the true origin of the Great Path. Roar! The moment Gu Fei took the true origin of the Great Path, an angry roar came from the Extreme Emperor Palace. The entire Extreme King Palace was shaking. Master, what's wrong? Everyone in the Holy Land felt a terrifying aura shrouding the entire Holy Land in an instant. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. At this time, on the top floor of the treasure pavilion, Gu Fei waved his hand and directly stored all the Taoist treasures on the top floor of the treasure pavilion into his inner world. You! The beginning Extreme Emperor's figure appeared on the top floor of the treasure chamber. He was dumbfounded when he saw Gu Fei. You want to kill me and take my origin of the Great Path? Do you think you can do that? Gu Fei laughed coldly. You! The Extreme Emperor looked at the empty top floor of the treasury, and almost vomited blood. The top floor of the treasury was filled with the most precious treasures he had ever collected in his life. Someone had taken everything, including the true origin of the Great Path. Boom! While the Extreme Emperor was still in shock, Gu Fei punched the floor of the treasury. Rumble! In the next moment, the entire treasury exploded. All the treasures in the treasury were turned to dust by Gu Fei's attack. This was Gu Fei's full strength. There was no treasure that could block Gu Fei's punch. Roar! Chapter 57:12. In the East Pole, inside the treasury of the Extreme Emperor's palace, Gu Fei rebuilt his physical body and cleared out all the treasures on the top floor of the treasury. When Limitless Extreme Emperor arrived, Gu Fei blasted the entire treasure house apart with a single punch. All the treasures in the treasure house were turned into dust. This time around, the Limitless Extreme Emperor was truly going crazy. His entire life's treasures were destroyed just like that. At this moment, Gu Fei opened his mouth and inhaled, and the spiritual qi released by the countless treasures that were crushed into dust immediately gathered towards him. I'm going to kill you! The Ultimate Emperor roared and threw a punch at Gu Fei. Boom, 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 the world shook. The Ultimate Emperor's fist energy exploded and shook the earth. Oh, you're angry? Gu Fei leaped into the air and dashed out, dodging the punch of the Limitless Extreme Emperor. Die! The Extreme Darch of Beginning chased after him and punched again. This time, the fist energy turned into a huge dragon that lunged at Gu Fei. The explosive fist energy caused the surrounding space to crack. This is the price you have to pay for plotting against me. Gu Fei moved quickly in the air. Though the Ultimate Emperor's fist energy was violent, it could not even touch the corner of his clothes. The ultimate emperor did not say a word and continued to attack Gu Fei like a madman. This time, he had really suffered a great loss. All the treasures he had collected in his life were gone, especially the 2 origins of the infinite realm. He had spent a lot of effort, an effort to kill 2 infinite primes and obtain 2 origins of the infinite realm. The ultimate emperor did not expect Gu Fei to be so difficult to deal with. Regular infinite primes would not be able to withstand his destructive formation. Their primordial spirit would be refined and only the origin of the great path would be left. This guy's primordial spirit was clearly refined. Why was he still alive? The beginning extreme monarch was both shocked and furious. It's just a treasure pavilion. Can't you just rebuild one? Gu Fei laughed coldly as he dodged Limitless Extreme Emperor's attack. You! Limitless Extreme Emperor was enraged. This fella took advantage of him, and yet he was still trying to act innocent. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What you? Do you think I'm someone you can trick? Gu Fei disappeared in an instant. Pa! A palm suddenly appeared and slapped the enraged Limitless Emperor across the face without any struggle. This unexpected slap stunned the extreme darch of the beginning extreme darch. A palm print appeared on the beginning extreme emperor's face. For an existence like the ultimate emperor of the beginning, if he was injured, it wouldn't be so easy to heal. This was because only the power of the ultimate path could injure him. Does it feel good? Gu Fei appeared in the distance. The extreme darch of beginning felt a burning pain on his left cheek. In the next moment, he went berserk. He was going crazy. He was going crazy. Kaboom! The entire Extreme Emperor Palace shook violently. Every sacred mountain in the sky began to glow again. The power of the Extreme East Ancestral Array was being activated. Do you think you can escape from me in my territory? Limitless Emperor roared. Is that so? Then I'll see. Gu Fei smiled. What's happening? At this time, the entire Extreme Emperor Palace was in an uproar. All of Limitless Emperor's disciples rushed out in fear. Treasure Pavilion, it's gone? Very quickly, someone realized that the Treasure Pavilion had disappeared. What a hole in the sky! Yuan Gu and the others felt their scalps go numb. That was the Treasure Pavilion, the place where their master hid his treasures. It was a forbidden place in the Extreme Emperor Palace. In the entire Extreme Emperor Palace, only Limitless Emperor and Big Brother Yuan Gu had the right to enter the Treasure Pavilion. Everyone else, even Limitless Emperor's direct disciple, was not allowed to enter the Treasure Pavilion. If they died, they would die for nothing. Yet, the forbidden place of the Extreme Emperor Palace had disappeared. Someone had dared to destroy the Treasure Pavilion. When Yuan Gu and the others saw that it was Gu Fei fighting their master, they were all shocked. Wasn't this guy's soul destroyed by master? How is that possible? Limitless Emperor's direct disciples were dumbfounded. No wonder their master was going crazy. Hide! Yuan Gu said as he turned around and fled. This was a real battle between peerless powers. Even a half-step peerless prime Yuan Gu would be killed if he was caught in the crossfire. Limitless Emperor's direct disciples saw their big brother running away. Why didn't they run? Were they just going to wait for their deaths? The others also hurriedly ran away. Very quickly, there was no one left in the Extreme Emperor Palace. Everyone had escaped. At this time, the Extreme Emperor Palace's great array was activated. The sacred mountains in the sky were all glowing brightly. The power of the ancestral Earth Meridian had been drawn in. Terrifying energy filled every inch of the void. At that moment, a figure charged straight towards a sacred mountain. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire sacred mountain was destroyed by this person. The entire sacred mountain exploded. Countless sacred lights exploded. It was like a huge firework had appeared in the sky. It was dazzling. As the sacred mountain exploded, countless inscriptions disappeared into the void. Damn it! Limitless Emperor, who was chasing after him, saw this scene and was fuming. Go, 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 go! Gu Fei shouted all the way as he charged towards the divine mountains floating in the sky. A series of loud noises immediately rang out in the sky as the divine mountains were directly smashed by him. The power of the Extreme Emperor Palace's great array was decreasing as the sacred mountains were destroyed by Gu Fei. Gu Fei's speed was so fast that even the beginning Extreme Darch couldn't catch up to him. His movement technique was the fastest in the world, and it was not just for show. Roar! Limitless Emperor was furious. He roared and attacked. However, he could not even touch the corner of Gu Fei's robe, let alone kill Gu Fei. Haha! I will destroy your nest. Let's see if you can still be so cocky. Gu Fei laughed as he moved quickly in the void. He kept destroying the sacred mountains in the sky. Countless inscriptions disappeared and the ancestral Earth Meridian's power weakened. Finally, he plunged into the ultimate formation eye of this space. You're courting death! Limitless Emperor roared and exploded the array eye. However, the array eye did not explode. Gu Fei had already made his move. Tao of Truth! Gu Fei, who had pounced into the ultimate formation eye, let out a furious roar and directly used one of the 9 secrets of Immortal Tao, the Returning Truth secret technique. As soon as the secret technique was used, the formation runes in the ultimate formation eye were immediately obliterated by the secret technique. Countless inscriptions disappeared into the void under the power of the secret technique of truth. All the energy around Gu Fei was instantly refined into the purest spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Then, he absorbed it. Under Gu Fei's force of truth, countless palaces and sacred mountains crumbled. In the blink of an eye, half of the Extreme Emperor Palace was dissolved by Gu Fei's force of truth. Pfft. Chapter 57:13. Gu Fei didn't show any mercy to the Infinity Emperor. Since this guy wanted to kill him and steal his origin of the Great Path, he had to be prepared to face the consequences. You bastard! The Infinity Emperor roared. Every time he threw a punch, the power of the punch would turn into the shadow of a dragon that lunged at Gu Fei. The power of the punch was like a wild dragon, unstoppable and overbearing. However, the moment the power approached Gu Fei, it was instantly dissolved and converted into the most primitive spiritual energy of the world for him to absorb. The space around Gu Fei turned into a domain. He moved quickly and dodged the Infinity Emperor's direct attack. Boom! Another loud sound rang out, and another divine mountain was blasted apart by Gu Fei. It was as if a brilliant firework had bloomed in the sky. Amidst the explosion of divine light, countless formation patterns dissipated. The Extreme Emperor of the beginning Extreme Emperor almost spat out another mouthful of blood when he saw this. In order to trap and kill the other infinite primes, he had spent so much effort to cast down this supreme formation, yet this guy had destroyed it just like that. The Infinity Emperor had spent an immeasurable amount of time and effort to set up this killing formation. This was also the reason why he vomited blood when he saw Gu Fei destroy the super killing formation. It was because the super killing formation was extremely important to him. If Gu Fei really destroyed this killing formation, he didn't even know if he could set up another one. Haha, I haven't felt this good in a long time. Gu Fei roared with laughter as he charged toward another mountain. He was having a lot of fun, but the beginning Extreme Emperor was furious. Fist of the Extreme Sky! The Infinity Emperor had no choice but to use the strongest fist technique he had recently created. This was a heaven-level fist technique. At his level of cultivation, he had to create all techniques himself. The Skyline Divine Fist was a fist technique that he had created after his cultivation had broken through to the extreme heaven realm. However, this fist technique was only in its embryonic form. Even someone as strong as the limitless Extreme Emperor, with his initial heaven-level cultivation, could only manage to throw out a single punch. At this time, he couldn't just watch as his painstaking efforts were destroyed by the other party. He could only take a risk and kill this hateful guy with a single punch. The beginning Extreme Emperor made a fist move. In the next moment, all the energy of heaven and earth gathered on his fist. Even the power of the ancestral earth vein in the easternmost pole had been activated by him. What? Gu Fei sensed the changes in this part of the world and couldn't help but be shocked. It was as if the entire world and the void had frozen in an instant. It was as if someone had cast a body-fixing spell on him, and he was fixed in the void. The fist had yet to be unleashed, but an extremely tyrannical force had already enveloped this part of the world. Under the shroud of this power, everything froze. What a terrifying fist technique! Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. The power of this fist technique was beyond his imagination. After all, he was at the initial Earth tier. Even though he was a realm lower than the limitless Extreme Emperor, he couldn't possibly be restrained by his opponent's power. It could only be said that the limitless Extreme Emperor's fist technique was extremely powerful. Even the anti-void secret technique couldn't dispel the restraining force. Just as the fist was about to be unleashed, Gu Fei gritted his teeth and unleashed the Ascension secret technique and the Extreme Breaking secret technique. In the next moment, an extremely powerful force exploded from his body. Buzz! The void trembled, and a few divine mountains near Gu Fei instantly exploded, turning into dust. At the same time, Gu Fei broke through the restraining force. However, just as he regained his mobility, his opponent's fist came flying towards him. The limitless Extreme Emperor's seemingly gentle punch sent chills down Gu Fei's spine. He sensed extreme danger. In the end, Gu Fei couldn't completely dodge the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch. Bam! The limitless Extreme Emperor's punch landed on Gu Fei's left shoulder. In the next moment, Gu Fei's left shoulder exploded and he was flung across the sky. A mist of blood erupted and the smell of blood permeated the air. Even with Gu Fei's cultivation level and physique, he couldn't withstand the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch. It couldn't be helped. The power of this punch was far too heaven-defying. If this punch was used in the mortal realm or the heavenly realm, it would probably be able to destroy the mortal realm or the heavenly realm with just one punch. The limitless Extreme Emperor's small world began to crack in space. These cracks didn't heal even after a long time. Then Gu Fei, who was hit by the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch, was flung thousands of miles away. The left side of his body was crumbling, and it almost spread to his entire body. How dare you! Without hesitation, Gu Fei flew into the sky and disappeared into the crack in space. The limitless Extreme Emperor wanted to chase after him. However, he only took one step before he felt like he was about to collapse. His face turned pale and blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The power in his body was going out of control. Roar! The limitless Extreme Emperor roared in anger. Young man, you are lucky today. If we meet again in the future, I will fight to the death. The limitless Extreme Emperor howled. I will fight to the death with you now. There is no need to wait for the future. Gu Fei's voice came from the crack in space. Haha, is that so? Come out and fight if you dare? The limitless Extreme Emperor laughed in disdain. Just you wait. I will be back to settle the score with you soon. Gu Fei left. Oh no! The limitless Extreme Emperor's expression changed. In the next second, he disappeared from the small world. When he reappeared, he was already outside. Gu Fei. When he saw the scene in front of him, he exploded in anger. The entrance to the limitless Extreme Emperor Palace had been completely destroyed. There was only a giant palm print where the entrance used to be. All of the limitless Extreme Emperor's subordinates were lying on the ground. They were all killed by the power of the sword. Even his 2 direct disciples were among them. Out of the 13 limitless Extreme Emperors, only the 11 were left. Yuan Gu and the others seemed to have sensed something was amiss and hid somewhere. The people who stayed behind to guard the entrance all received their lunchboxes. The limitless Extreme Emperor gritted his teeth in anger, but Gu Fei had already escaped. While Gu Fei was wreaking havoc in the limitless Extreme Emperor Palace, Gu Fei's new disciple Wang Zhan, Dong Yu Shuer, and the others escorted the tyrant war god to a city less than 500 miles away from the East Moon Royal Capital. Their next stop was the East Moon Royal Capital. Chapter 57:14. The East Moon royal capital was the largest city in the East Moon Empire. The capital of the East Moon Empire was also the most prosperous city in the East Moon Empire. The East Moon imperial capital was the city with the most citizens in the East Moon Empire. It was a huge city with more than 20 million citizens, and the city guards were always maintained at more than 1 million. The city was divided into 5 districts, and each district was guarded by a god. In other words, there were at least 5 gods in the East Moon royal capital. This was only what was on the surface. Exactly how many immortals were hidden in the Eastern Moon imperial capital was a secret that no one knew. Third brother has arrived at Heavenly Leap City? In the majestic main hall of the imperial capital, Imperial Lord Dongyu sat on the imperial throne, while civil and military officials stood to his left and right below him. Zhuwu and Zhuwen. On the left of the throne was a group of generals clad in battle armor. The one in the lead was the number 1 war god of the East Moon Empire, Dongwei Lingxiao. The civil officials on the right were led by the Prime Minister, Dong Xianyu. The 3 great clans of the East Moon Empire were the Tiger Clan, the Longxian Clan, and the Dongxian Clan. These 3 clans were deeply rooted in the East Moon Empire. Even the East Moon imperial family was unwilling to fall out with these 3 clans. Your Majesty, the princess has already arrived at Heavenly Leap City before nightfall last night. Dongwei Lingxiao answered. What? Arrived yesterday? Then why hasn't she returned to the royal capital? The East Moon royal lord was very surprised. Sitting on the throne, the East Moon royal lord wore a purple dragon crown, a purple dragon robe, and purple cloud boots. His face was like jade, and his eyebrows reached his temples. His figure was slender, and he exuded an aura of might. It had to be said that the East Moon royal lord's appearance was superb. However, in the infinite realm, superb appearance was nothing. As long as one was successful in cultivation, anyone could change their appearance. Everyone could become a handsome man or a beautiful woman. However, being naturally good-looking was really a small advantage. After all, many people still like the original appearance. Your Majesty, I have something to report. The Prime Minister, Dong Xianyu, suddenly stepped forward. Dong Xianyu, the patriarch of the Dongxian clan of the Dongwei Empire. His occupation was the Prime Minister of the Dongwei Empire. He did not have any cultivation, yet he was able to become the patriarch of the Dongxian clan and the Prime Minister of the Dongwei Empire. It was clear that Dong Xianyu truly was an extremely impressive existence. So what if he did not have any cultivation? No one in the entire Dongwei Empire dared to underestimate him. Even the number 1 war god of the East Moon Empire, Dongwei Lingxiao, treated this old man as his number 1 opponent. The 2 of them had fought openly and covertly for many years, yet Dongwei Lingxiao, the number 1 war god, was actually unable to gain any advantage. However, this time, Dong Xianyu suffered a huge setback in Dongwei Lingxiao's hands. As a matter of fact, Dongwei Lingxiao had taken advantage of the situation as well, as he had not done anything at all. All he did was sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. He was the crown prince's man, while Dong Xianyu was the second prince's man. Dongwei Lingxiao was not surprised to see Dong Xianyu step forward, as he already knew what Dong Xianyu was going to say. He could not help but curl his lips into a sneer. Speak! The East Moon Imperial Lord was truly in a good mood, as his daughter, the third princess, had actually captured the number 1 war god of the tyrannical Sky Empire alive. Moreover, Dongwei Shui had even killed the number 1 saber god of the tyrannical Sky Empire. All of the battle achievements belonged to Dongwei Shui. Such a battle achievement was practically unprecedented in the East Moon Empire. Even Dongwei Lingxiao, the number 1 war god of the East Moon Empire, could not compare. It should be noted that in the war between the East Moon Empire and the tyrannical Sky Empire, the East Moon Empire had always been oppressed by the tyrannical Sky Empire. All of the territories outside of Black Qilin City had been occupied by the tyrannical Sky Empire. The East Moon Empire could only defend Black Qilin City to the death. Her Highness beat up the second prince, and even locked him in a prisoner's carriage, Dong Xianyu said with a solemn expression. What? Everyone in the great hall was shocked by Dong Xianyu's words. Her Highness beat up the second prince, and even locked him in a prisoner's carriage? How was that possible? They were brother and sister. Her Royal Highness even locked the second prince in the same prison carriage as the sky-dominating war god. Dong Xianyu added. Everyone stared at Dong Xianyu. The East Moon Imperial Lords stared at Dong Xianyu in disbelief. Only Dong Weilingxiao remained calm. Dong Xianyu, is what you said true? Do you have any concrete evidence? The East Moon Imperial Lords stared at Dong Xianyu and asked in a deep voice. This matter is absolutely true. If your Majesty doesn't believe me, you can ask our number one war god to see if what I said is true. Dong Xianyu turned around and stared at Dong Weilingxiao. Dong Weilingxiao, tell me. The East Moon Imperial Lord also stared at Dong Weilingxiao. How would the Prime Minister dare to deceive the Emperor? What he said is true. Dong Weilingxiao answered. How dare you? The East Moon Imperial Lord was furious. Send a letter to the third princess immediately and order her to return to the imperial capital to see me. The East Moon Imperial Lord said loudly to Dong Weilingxiao. Yes, your Majesty. Dong Weilingxiao answered. Dong Xianyu looked at Dong Weilingxiao coldly. He wanted to take Dong Weishuer down a notch and weaken her contributions. Dong Weilingxiao did not say anything. However, the East Moon Imperial Lord was clearly angry. In the East Moon Overlord's eyes, Dong Weishuer had truly crossed the line. He was her second royal brother after all. Beating up her royal brother was already an act of defiance, yet she had even locked him up in a prison carriage and locked him up with the tyrant war god. She had humiliated her royal brother and disregarded their relationship as siblings. This was unacceptable to the East Moon Overlord. The Crown Prince who stood beside the Imperial Lord's throne wanted to say something, but was stopped by Dong Weilingxiao's gaze. Dong Weilingxiao shook her head at the Crown Prince. Dong Xianyu was secretly happy to see Dong Weilingxiao being humiliated. Dong Xianyu's allies were also gloating. Dong Weilingxiao was the Crown Prince's supporter. Now that there was a chance to strike the Crown Prince's camp, they naturally wanted to use it to deal a harsh blow to the Crown Prince's camp. Court dismissed. Soon, the court ended, and the East Moon Imperial Lord left the hall angrily. However, the Crown Prince went to find Dong Weilingxiao after the court was dismissed. Crown Prince, just wait and watch the show. Dong Weilingxiao said nothing and left the palace directly. This made the Crown Prince extremely gloomy. At this moment, the sacred envoy of the East Moon Imperial Lord left the palace and the imperial capital with the imperial edict, heading straight for Tianhua City. Tianhua City, the city lord's residence. In the backyard, a figure suddenly appeared, almost scaring the two fellows who were sitting cross-legged under a tree to death. Greetings, master. When Wang Zhan saw the person who suddenly appeared, he immediately knelt down. Master? The fatty on the side looked at the black-clothed youth who suddenly appeared cautiously. Master? In a pavilion far away, a white-clothed woman stood up. Is there really a mysterious sect behind him? Chapter 57:15. Greetings, Master! In the backyard of the city lord's residence, Wang Zhan knelt at the feet of a black-robed young man with extreme respect. Fatty and Shuer were shocked. Who was this black-robed young man? Wang Zhan knelt at first sight. Get up! Gu Fei placed his left hand behind his back. With a wave of his right hand, an illusory figure immediately emerged from Wang Zhan, who was kneeling on the ground. Then, it rushed out and directly entered his body. Fatty couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this. He seemed to have thought of something, and the way he looked at the black-clothed youth changed. At this moment, Shuai hurried over from the pavilion far away. You're Wang Zhan's master! Shuai sized up the black-robed young man before her. The black-robed young man wasn't very handsome. He was above average, and his black robes weren't some treasure either. They were just ordinary clothes. His hair was casually tied behind his head with a hairband, and his expression was indifferent. Apart from that, there didn't seem to be anything special about him. Most importantly, Shui and Fatty couldn't sense a trace of a cultivator's aura from the black-robed young man. He seemed like an ordinary person. However, if he could appear here without warning, he was definitely not an ordinary person. However, they couldn't tell how powerful this guy was. Both Shui and Fatty were doubtful. This was because the fake sword master Dongyu was a very good example. These days, there were quite a lot of people who swindled others. It was hard to say if the black-robed young man had tricked Wang Zhan in some way. You can say that, Gu Fei said indifferently. He was injured in the battle with Extreme Emperor of Beginning and needed a place to recuperate. He also wanted to see his first disciple in the Endless Realm. At this moment, he had already recalled the divine sense he had attached to Wang Zhan, so he knew everything. Wang Zhan's luck was really good. Could he be the legendary child of fortune? Gu Fei was not very interested in these so-called chosen by heaven or children of luck. After all, so what if they had shocking talent and overwhelming luck? If they wanted to become a true expert, they would have to go through all sorts of trials and tribulations. Greetings, Senior! Dong Weishuer clasped her hands at Gu Fei as a form of greeting. Previously, when Gu Fei fought against Sacred Lord Void Sky, he did not use his true appearance. With Dong Weishuer and the Fatty's cultivation, they naturally did not know that the black-robed young man before them was one of the supreme existences in the battle that day. If they knew that the person before them was a supreme infinite prime, they would probably kneel down even faster than Wang Zhan. Greetings, Senior! Fatty followed suit and cupped his hands at Gu Fei. Gu Fei smiled and didn't mind. How could a giant dragon in the sky lower itself to the level of an ant on the ground? However, Wang Zhan didn't dare delay. Since Gu Fei didn't ask him to get up, he obediently lay at Gu Fei's feet and didn't dare to move. The reason why he had his current cultivation was all because of this master in front of him. If it weren't for his master, the grass on his grave would probably be 3 feet tall by now. After all, he was just an ordinary soldier in Black Qilin City. If it weren't for Gu Fei's will that had just entered the infinite realm, he would have died a long time ago. Not only did Gu Fei's will heal his fatal injury, but it also taught him cultivation techniques and opened up a world of will to train his soul. Get up! Gu Fei stood with his hands behind his back and said calmly. Yes. Only then did Wang Zhan dare to stand up. He lowered his head and stood aside. Seeing this, Fatty and Dong Weishuer were a little dumbfounded. This Wang Zhan was so mighty before. Why was he as obedient as a kitten in front of this black-robed young man? Wang Zhan's previous performance was amazing. Even the tyrannical battle god was defeated by him. He killed the number 1 saber god of the tyrannical Sky Empire with a wave of his hand. Fatty and Dong Weishuer did not know that the previous Wang Zhan was just a clone of Gu Fei in the infinite realm. The current Wang Zhan was the real Wang Zhan. Of course, the current Wang Zhan was also very domineering. However, he did not dare to be presumptuous in front of Gu Fei. Master, please allow me to welcome you back, Wang Zhan said carefully. Gu Fei did not say anything. He suddenly frowned. Soon, a figure descended from the sky. Dong Weishuer, kneel and receive the decree. A voice that was neither male nor female was heard. A guy with a face as white as paper and a hairless mouth, dressed in a servant's uniform, hovered in the air with an imperial decree in his hand. He looked down at Dong Weishuer and the others with an overbearing manner. Eunuch 2? Dong Weishuer was shocked when she saw the person. This guy turned out to be the Empress' trusted aide, Eunuch Tuesday. This guy's arrival at this time was definitely nothing good. Dong Weishuer immediately knelt. Wang Zhan subconsciously wanted to kneel as well. In this limitless realm, who is qualified to make my disciple kneel? Gu Fei said calmly. Wang Zhan, who was about to kneel, immediately straightened his back when he heard that. The imperial decree of Royal Lord East Moon is here. Why aren't you all kneeling to receive it? Eunuch 2 said sternly. Gu Fei did not kneel. Wang Zhan did not kneel. Fatty did not kneel either. Royal Lord East Moon or whatever? He was nothing in their eyes. How dare you look down on the majesty of the royal lord? 9 familial exterminations! Eunuch 2 was instantly enraged when he saw that the 3 of them did not kneel. TCH. Fatty crossed his arms in disdain, completely ignoring the androgynous guy in the sky. Wang Zhan stood proudly, ignoring Eunuch 2's words. As for Gu Fei, Royal Lord East Moon did not even have the right to kneel to him. Ouch! Eunuch 2 was truly enraged. Where is the heavenly protector? Eunuch 2 roared. Whoosh! A figure immediately appeared in the air. What? Dongwei Shuer was shocked. She did not expect her father to send out the heavenly protector. The heavenly protector was second only to the number 1 war god, Dongwei Lingxiao. This heavenly imperial guardian was definitely a godly state expert. What did her father mean? Was he going to take her down? What did she do wrong? Dongwei Shuer could not help but feel uneasy. She had captured the Sky Tyrant war god alive and killed the number 1 saber god of the Sky Tyrant. Her contributions were great, and she was definitely number 1 in the East Moon Empire. Who could compare to her? However, something was wrong. Those who look down on the majesty of the royal lord shall be killed without mercy. Eunuch 2 ordered. Eunuch 2 you. Dongwei Shuer was shocked. She did not expect that Eunuch 2 would really kill Wang Zhan and the others. Humph! Eunuch 2 sneered with an arrogant and haughty expression. The so-called heavenly protector in the sky really did look like one. He wore golden armor and held a heavenly halberd, like a divine general descending from the heavens. A powerful aura erupted from the golden-armored heavenly war god. You want to kill me? Chapter 57:16. Eunuch 2, the imperial attendant of the East Moon Empire, had arrived at Heavenly Yu City with the imperial edict. He was overbearing and arrogant, believing himself to be the Empress' trusted aide. He had directly accused Gu Fei, Wang Zhan, and the fatty of looking down on the empire. He had even called out the Divine Protector General of the East Moon Empire to kill Gu Fei and the others. However, this so-called Eunuch 2 would never have imagined that his high and mighty attitude of having the power to decide one's life and death was as laughable as a clown in the eyes of Gu Fei and the others. It was like an ant waving a big stick and trying to kill a giant dragon. Eunuch 2, are you sure you want to kill them? Dongwei Shuer suddenly stood up from the ground. She looked at Eunuch 2, who was holding the imperial edict in the sky, mockingly. Looking down on the dignity of the empire will result in the death of 9 generations. Eunuch 2 was still very arrogant. Then go ahead and try, the fatty said disapprovingly. He had a great background and was not even afraid of infinite primes, so why would he be afraid of a mere East Moon Empire? Looking down on the dignity of the empire? If you piss me off, I'll just press the East Moon Imperial Lord into the ground 1,000 times. What are you waiting for, Divine Protector General? Eunuch 2 roared. Kill! With a cold look on his face, the Protector Divine General charged towards the fatty from the sky. Whoosh! The Divine Protector waved the halberd in his hand. An arc-shaped blade of light immediately appeared above the fatty's head, cleaving down towards his head. Powerful energy ripples spread from the Divine Protector. The weather immediately changed, and the sun and moon dimmed. The might of a godhood realm cultivator was quite impressive. Currently, countless cultivators in Heavenly Yu City looked towards the city lord's estate in fear. All the cultivators felt an uncontrollable fear from the depths of their souls. This was a form of deterrence from godhood realm cultivators. No one in the city knew what was going on. They were all terrified. When the Divine Protector attacked, Gu Fei and Wang Zhan were extremely calm. Only Dongwei Shuer showed a hint of fear. However, the next moment Dongwei Shuer was utterly dumbfounded by the scene before her. Fatty impatiently stretched out his right hand and directly caught the halberd that was slashing down at lightning speed in his hand. The fatty had completely ignored the sharpness of the halberd's edge. The Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire was in existence second only to the greatest Divine General of the East Moon Empire, Dongwei Lingxiao. The halberd in his hands was a proper god weapon. The fatty was actually able to ignore the attack of a god artifact. Let alone Dong Shuai, even Wang Zhan was taken aback. The arrogant eunuch too in the sky was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. As the envoy of Imperial Lord East Moon, he naturally had the right to be arrogant, because the Divine Protector General would come with him. With the second strongest cultivator of the East Moon Empire, he could definitely do as he pleased within the borders of the East Moon Empire. Moreover, he, who held the Imperial Edict, was now the symbol of Imperial authority. However, Eunuch Tu never dreamed that there would be people who dared to ignore the Imperial authority of the East Moon Imperial Lord and defy the Imperial Edict in a tiny heavenly U city. This was no longer as simple as defying the Imperial Edict. The attitude of these three people was basically disregarding the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord. Actually, Eunuch Tu, who had the backing of people, really did not know that Gu Fei and the others really had the confidence to look down on the East Moon Imperial Lord. There was no need to mention Gu Fei. The East Moon Imperial Lord was a joke in his eyes. The fatty had a powerful background. The East Moon Imperial Lord was nothing. Even Wang Zhan was not very interested in the East Moon Imperial Lord. Wang Zhan was also a god. Although he was only at the initial stage, he was still a god after all. I'm already a god. Why would I be afraid of you, the East Moon Imperial Lord? In the East Moon Empire, the god level was already in existence that stood at the peak. Of course, the factions within the East Moon Empire were also complicated. There was the Infinite Sword Sect and various cultivation clans. Even as powerful as the East Moon Empire, they were still very wary of these factions. Especially the Infinite Sword Sect, which was the greatest sword sect in the East Pole. You're just a eunuch. You're not even a man, and you still dare to act mighty in front of me? The fatty sneered. You! Eunuch Tu was so angry that his pale face turned the color of a pig's liver. At this moment, the fatty's hand that grabbed the square sky halberd tightened. Crack! Under everyone's shocked gazes, the square sky halberd in the hands of the Divine Protector broke. There was only a pole left in the Divine Protector's hand. The Divine Protector General's shock was no small matter. Before he could recover, the fatty had already grabbed the head of the square sky halberd and slapped it hard on his face, directly sending him flying. How is this possible? Eunuch Tu's voice trembled. Only now did he know how terrifying these people were. No wonder these people did not care about the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord. In the eyes of these people, the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord was no different from toilet paper to wipe their butts. Boom! With a loud rumble, the Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire that had been sent flying by the fat man directly smashed into a nearby building. The entire building then collapsed. Cries of shock rang out everywhere, and smoke and dust filled the air. You're worthy of the title of Divine Protector with just this bit of cultivation? The fatty casually tossed the blade of the square sky halberd away, then suddenly raised his head to look at the androgynous fellow in the sky. Why you, what are you trying to do? I'm the messenger, representing the East Moon Imperial Lord. If you dare touch me. Eunuch Tu remained stubborn. Pa! Before Eunuch Tu could finish his sentence, he was slapped hard across the face by the fatty who had suddenly appeared in front of him. This slap to the face directly stunned this guy. So what if I touch you? The fatty looked at him with an ambiguous smile. You'll regret it. Eunuch Tu gritted his teeth. Pa! I'll regret it? Pa! Who do you think you are? Pa! I only hit you because I think highly of you. Do you understand? Pa! I'd like to see what you have to make me regret it. Pa! With that, the fatty gave him another backhand slap. Seeing how fierce the fatty was, Dong Shuai was so shocked that she was speechless. Meanwhile, Gu Fei was still unperturbed. Wang Zhan was also extremely shocked. Lord Fatty was too fierce. That was an imperial messenger, and an imperial messenger of the East Moon Imperial Lord at that. The fatty actually beat an imperial messenger into a pig's head. Don't kill him! Dong Shuai was still relatively calm. Although she looked down on this eunuch too, she did not want him to die here. "Tch, he wants to kill me, but I can't." "What a joke!" the fatty sneered. Whoosh! Sensing the fatty's killing intent, Eunuch 2 immediately turned around and fled. The fatty snorted coldly and punched out. Bang! Eunuch 2 was directly blown up by the fatty's punch, his body and soul destroyed. The imperial edict fell to the ground, rolling right at Dong Shuer's feet. This Chapter 57:17. Gu Fei and Wang Zhan did not even need to do anything. Eunuch 2, the arrogant imperial lord of the East Moon Imperial Lord, was killed by the fatty with a single punch. Dong Shuer was dumbfounded. She did not expect fatty to be so powerful and decisive. Once he had the intention to kill, he killed Eunuch Tuesday. Although Dong Shuer hated this arrogant guy, Eunuch 2 was favored by the Empress of the East Moon Empire. This time Dong Shuer ran away from the marriage mainly because the Imperial Lord wanted to confer the title of Empress. The Imperial Lord was also helpless, as the new Empress backer was just too powerful. Furthermore, the new Empress clan had the support of Sword Master Dongyu. Even the Imperial Lord had to lower his head at a time like this. Soon after Dong Shuer left the imperial capital, the East Moon Empire held an Empress conferring ceremony. The imperial concubine became the Empress directly. This was also why the second prince of the East Moon Empire dared to steal Dong Shuer's credit. Dong Yuanliang was truly confident at a time like this. He wanted to use this opportunity to drag the crown prince down. However, he never expected that not only did he fail to drag the crown prince down, but he also became a joke. Right now, the second prince of the East Moon Empire was still locked in a prison carriage with the overlord war god. They were waiting to be escorted to the imperial capital tomorrow. Dong Shuer would definitely not show mercy this time. A mere eunuch dares to act so presumptuously before me? Isn't he courting death? The fatty retracted his fist. There was a hint of pride in his arrogance. I've hidden my strength well. I'm impressed. Wang Zhan clasped his hands at the fatty. Haven't you hidden your strength well too? The fatty looked at Wang Zhan with a smile that did not seem like a smile. His gaze, however, landed on Gu Fei. I'm still the best. Wang Zhan smiled. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud sound. A figure shot into the sky from the collapsed pavilion in the distance, charging over with a murderous aura. This person was the Divine General of the East Moon Empire who had been sent flying by the fatty earlier. To be able to become the Divine General of the Hu Kingdom of the East Moon Empire, this person's cultivation was also very strong. His cultivation was at the early stage of the god level, and his god tier equipment allowed his battle prowess to far surpass those of the same cultivation level. The Divine Protector Generals of the East Moon Empire were lofty existences. In the East Moon Empire, the Divine Protector Generals could act first and report later, and they only obeyed the orders of the East Moon Imperial Lord. This was also why Dong Shuer was nervous, because the new Empress could not command the Heavenly Protector Generals. Not only did he have a high status, he wielded the power of life and death. Furthermore, his cultivation was extremely high. Even Dong Shuer would not dare to act recklessly in front of him, let alone others. Scram, or I'll kill you too. Lord Fatty glanced impatiently at the Divine Protector General. The murderous Divine Protector General of the East Moon Empire immediately backed down. He had no choice but to back down. This damn fatty had actually killed that eunuch, Eunuch Tuesday. This eunuch too was no simple character. Even though he was just a servant, he had cultivated the legendary Infinite Flower Manual, and his cultivation base was extremely strong. Even as the Divine Protector General, it would not be easy for him to kill Eunuch Tuesday. The Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire immediately turned around and left. Seeing this, Dong Shuer breathed a sigh of relief. The fatty and the others were dangerous figures. If the Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire clashed with the fatty and the others, there would only be one outcome. Eunuch 2 was a very good example. The fatty did not make a move, and allowed the Divine Protector General to leave. He was not a bloodthirsty person. The Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire was not that arrogant and despotic eunuch Tuesday. At this moment, Gu Fei's face suddenly became as pale as a sheet of paper, and a trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. This? Wang Zhan was shocked. Master! Wang Zhan was worried. Gu Fei waved his hand and wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. I'm fine! Very soon, color returned to Gu Fei's face. When the fatty and Dongwei Shuai saw this, the look in their eyes changed slightly. Wang Zhan's master was actually injured. Could it be that this guy was really a swindler? Fellow Taoist, are you all right? The fatty went up and patted Gu Fei's shoulder. Gu Fei's body swayed, and a trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth again. The fatty's expression became rather strange. He patted Gu Fei's shoulder twice. He was testing Gu Fei, and with this, he actually found out that this guy's cultivation was only at the godly level. Acting like an expert in front of the fatty with that bit of cultivation? The fatty was immediately displeased. However, this Wang Zhan's cultivation and battle prowess were very strong. Forget it, I'll give Wang Zhan some face and not expose this guy. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, fellow Taoist. Gu Fei glanced at the fatty with a smile. His eyes flickered with a strange look. At this moment, the injuries on his body were acting up. The extreme monarch of Wuchu's strength had almost cancelled out his own, which was why the fatty thought that his cultivation was only at the godly level. This was a huge misunderstanding. However, Gu Fei did not say anything. If this fatty wants to play, then I'll play with him. The extreme monarch of Wuchu was indeed a ruthless man with an impressive cultivation base. Even though he was injured, the guy would not be able to get away with it either. Gu Fei was confident that even though he was injured, he would be able to recover in 3 months at most. The extreme monarch of Wuchu was also injured. Even though he was guarding against Sacred Master Su Tian, he would be in trouble if that guy were to attack him now. Find a place for me to rest, Gu Fei said to Wang Zhan. Yes, master. Wang Zhan glanced at Dongwei Shuai. Someone! Dongwei Shuai yelled. A figure immediately appeared in front of Dongwei Shuai. It was Yang Fei Yun, Dongwei Shuai's captain of guards. Take this senior away and settle him down. Don't neglect him, got it? Dongwei Shuai said to Yang Fei Yun. Yes, your highness. Yang Fei Yun accepted the order. Thank you. Gu Fei smiled. In the eyes of the fatty and Dongwei Shuai, he was a little weak now. Dongwei Shuai was doing this for Wang Zhan's sake. Even if Gu Fei was a cripple, she would still order people to take good care of him, as she wanted to suck up to Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan was someone with great potential in Dongwei Shuai's eyes. In fact, they did not know that the reason Gu Fei's cultivation had weakened was because of his injuries. Before his injuries acted up, he was in infinite prime. At that moment, he was indeed very weak. However, his period of weakness only lasted for less than 5 breaths of time. The fatty's luck was not very good. He tested Gu Fei when he was at his weakest, thinking that Gu Fei was really only at the immortal realm. The fatty was no longer as cautious towards Wang Zhan as before. He even looked down on Wang Zhan's master. Gu Fei saw all of this with his own eyes, but he didn't expose it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.